Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 325, and we have Ryan Venrick back in, and I am the rookie with my iPad going on there. Even I don't like to hear my voice. Ryan Venrick, Watershed Distillery, based out of our own hometown here, Columbus, Ohio. Welcome back.
It's good to be back, boys.
Nate Hale, welcome back to the garage.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a while.
It has been. It has been. And we are sipping on something very special here from Watershed. Putting the bottle on the gifted, as we found out, the charcuterie board.
Yes.
Custom Watershed Distillery charcuterie board.
Shout out to Amy.
Amy, the gifts keep on coming. So, guys, cheers to that. Cheers to September. Let's talk about some sponsors here. I had to take a sip first.
Can't do the show without it.
No, that would just be weird, really weird. Amy says big hugs. Thank you for everything. I want to thank our sponsors, Tinder Box at Easton, Columbus, Ohio. We've got a cigar tonight that is not currently featured at Tinder Box, but we do have other products from this brand. This one just has not hit the shelves yet. This is the Alec Bradley Safe Keepings. I don't know, Nate, have you smoked this?
I have.
You have smoked this?
From the rep.
Oh, my. Never mind. I thought I was going to surprise you tonight. Ryan has not. I can guarantee
I have not. I'm so surprised.
Oh, well, thank you.
Funny, that's who I got it from, was Ryan.
A different Ryan from the last show, Ryan Ponist. Anyways, Alec Bradley cigars. We've got a lot of them at Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. So thank you for the continued support there with Tinder Box at Easton. And then also Altadis USA, we've got Aging Room. This is what did I grab here, the Nicaragua?
Yes.
Aging Room Nicaragua. This is a former #1 cigar with Cigar Aficionado. And this is the Toro size, or they call it it's a 6x54 vibrato. Vibrato. Yeah. Vibrato here in the Midwest.
As soon as you said it, you were like, nah, I know that.
I knew it didn't sound right. No, I mean,
I haven't been on here enough to correct him, so I was just going.
Oh, you don't have. Yes,
Remember,
walk in the door.
It's a musical thing.
Walk in the door. You can correct me all you want. But yeah, so thank you, Altadis USA, Maria, and next episode's guest is from there. Dave is going to be coming on, and we're looking forward to. I don't know what we're going to be smoking, but Altadis is going to be in the house next, so that'll be 2 weeks from today.
We should put the Monte Cristo championship belt on the table.
It's right in front of him. Yeah, I like it. But yeah, so we are going to have them on next week. But thank you all to this for the continued support. The second cigar of the night is the Aging Room. They also have obviously behind us Monte Cristo, Romeo Julieta, H. Upman, among others. But appreciate that continued support. Also, the BS Cigar Company. The gold and silver are available through Tinder Box at Easton, a couple other locations, including Carfagna's. And I can't say anything tonight, man. That was only one sip of whiskey. That might be the problem. I didn't drink last night.
How high is this? What is the proof on? No.
Where do you work?
Carfagna's. Like lasagna.
I like it. We had some killer porterhouses on Monday night from there. Did you see the size of those?
Oh yeah. Well, like normally
combined 5.2 pounds.
Yeah. So I mean, normally when you post pictures of something like on the grill, unless you know the size of the grill, it's hard to get perspective of the size. Yeah. But I've eaten here at your house, so I know the size of your dinner plate. So when you sit there and you post a picture of it on the plate, it's like it's a big fucking steak.
The tray. The tray before putting it on the grill, it took up the entire tray with two of them. And we did enjoy them. I will say I thought it was going to be easier to kind of do the fillet and the port, like in the strip on the porterhouse together, grilling two of those massive bad boys on there and trying to do it on a propane grill. I have to admit they were medium, not medium rare. As you got closer to the bone, we got a little savior.
Yeah.
There with the bone of bringing it down a little bit. So still was amazing. Also used the ribeye roast seasoning from your store as well. On that. It's fantastic. I don't know if you had it, but check them out. But yeah, BS Cigar Company is available at those locations as well as Royale on the west side of Columbus, and we are shipping out as well. So just contact BS Cigar Company or contact Tinder Box at Easton or contact the show, and we can get you in touch with BS Cigar Company. I want to thank you guys at patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. We do the monthly contributions from you guys and greatly appreciate it. If you want to do a one-time contribution, do Venmo at Bourbon and BS. That helps us keep this thing going. Right now, we are still doing every other week, but we hope that this is going to bring you guys a little extra, more value to it, getting more guests on. We thank Ryan for filling in. We had guests lined up, and then when I posted the bottle that we were going to be featuring, because this is the time for this bottle right now, and he reached out and he's like, can I come over? And I was like, I didn't want to bother you. I thought about you. I don't want to bother someone last minute and like kind of guilt you into coming out. So I really do appreciate you coming into the garage tonight to go over this. But
it gives them a chance or an excuse to go out, drink whiskey, and smoke cigars.
That's right. That's right. And then also the swag. You've got the BS Cigar Company shirt on, the 3/4 sleeves. Not quite the weather, in my opinion, for it, but it's up and down. We're dancing with the fall, which is where this bottle comes in. Those 3/4 sleeve shirts, I think, are perfect for the fall as well, Nate, that you got on. And then I've got the red, pour one more, light up another. We'll figure this out together.
It's going to be in the 60s by the time we finish up tonight.
Fantastic. I can't wait because I am sweating.
I can see. I can see the reflection.
Never stops. Just never stops. I'm a sweater. All right. Well, let's talk about the booze here. We'll get to the cigar, but I think we should focus since we have Ryan here in the garage, and we've got a fresh start to the series that you guys have done now. Is this the second or third time we've done? I think it's the second.
Second. So this is the second year for the fall finishing series.
There we go.
This is the first go around for our port finished bourbon.
Okay.
For our port finished bourbon.
You said the second go around or the first go around?
First go around.
With this,
yeah, this is batch one.
Okay.
We got the port barrels from a winery out in California called Pedricelli. They were nice enough to hook us up with those. Yeah, the original idea came to me in around February of 2023.
Okay.
And the CEO of Watershed, Greg, asked me, what I thought about the idea. And I said, well, I mean, let's try it. Ended up getting a lot more barrels than I anticipated. So
really?
We have enough for a few releases for you guys. But this is the first round of this one. So 5-year-old bourbon, finished in the port cast for about 8 to 10 months.
8 to 10?
8 to 10. Yep.
I feel like that's longer than most.
Yeah.
No?
Not. I mean, it depends. It depends. For wine, I like to go around a year.
Okay.
I feel like it just builds a little bit of richness.
Because when you say port barrel finish, so the first thing that comes to mind is Angel's Envy, and that's like 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
On that one.
Yeah.
And it looks nothing like this.
Yeah, it all depends on what kind of port it is too. So we had the barrels that we got were filled with ruby.
Yeah.
There's also, you can get tawny port, which
Tawny
is
port, white port,
a little bit
rosé
drier,
port.
a little less sweet. So we thought that the sweetness from the ruby would go well with our bourbon.
Well, it's got legs like a good port.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
But the color, like the red, that burgundy, like it is.
Yeah, the light, you definitely do get that.
Yeah, that mahogany almost color.
Well, like, and I was like, I guess it's almost a good thing I brought this other product that just quietly released. Because like if you hold these two bottles side by side, like this one, the uncut, unfiltered, is that golden amber. And then
put that on the charcuterie board there.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got a 4-year.
You can see it.
You got a 4-year uncut, unfiltered, and then a 5-year finish in a ruby port barrel.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely see it.
I mean, it looks like
just a little bit.
It looks like we're drinking Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, it extracted a lot of that port from those barrels. I was pretty happy with the results.
Yeah. So this is, how many bottles did you guys do here?
For
this release? Do you
it
have
was ballpark.
Sorry, we didn't talk about this before. I'm quizzing them.
Yeah, it was. I think it was close to, what would the math be on that? Around 800 bottles or so.
Okay. And this is only available. So sorry to everyone else out there, right? This is only available currently at the bottle shop.
Yes, distillery only release. Yeah,
not shipping. This is come to the distillery, to the bottle shop, and you will be able to get this.
Yeah.
Now this is the first of 4. Are we talking about this? Are we allowed to talk about this?
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about this.
Need more notes. Read the notes actually that Amy sends me. That'd be better. Sorry, Amy.
Yeah, first of 4. Same releases as last year. This was the only surprise one. Everything else that you got last year will be released once again this year for 2024.
All right. I still have
Fantastic.
mine from last year.
Will they all be released? How are they being released, I guess? So this is the first one you guys are.
So there's going to be
putting
two.
out there.
Yeah, there's going to be two distillery exclusive releases, and then two lotteries.
Two lotteries.
Two lotteries. Yeah, yeah. Our 6-year apple brandy finish bourbon that comes around is a lottery, and then our 5-year Nocino finished is also a lottery.
The 6-year apple brandy, if I'm not mistaken, that was like your 10-year anniversary project before you were with the distillery, but that was the first of these like finishing bottles for you guys. Is that right?
So I'm not sure.
I got Ann and Amy on there.
Yeah, I'm not sure I
think it was
complete. Yeah,
the 10-year anniversary was that.
When I started, my first batch that I did was batch 3 of the apple brandy finished bourbon. So it was definitely around before my time. So yeah, if anybody else that is listening in,
I'm pretty sure I remember that being the 10-year anniversary bottle. For that was the apple brandy finish.
That sounds right.
And
that sounds about right.
And then the Nocino came out after that 5-year.
Yeah.
And they were very unique from what you guys had been doing. So I think this is the progression there, obviously, is that you've got some other projects that have come out. Love the fall finishing series. I think it was she's writing these down. Applebee was Greg's baby. The maple. Was it maple? I think it was the Nocino. I was at.
Well, she's just listening.
No, I know. I'm just. Yeah. There was one of your fall finishing series last year, and this was probably they was still at the bar at Cento. If you're familiar with Cento, it's a nice Mitchell's Italian restaurant, high end, and they had it up there. And I was talking about it. She gave me a sample. I didn't have the heart to say that I've already tried it, but I did enjoy it. And then they had this Nocino spray finish. On a
spritz.
On an old fashioned. And I said, can you do that old fashioned with the Nocino barrel Watershed? And that was a delicious cocktail.
I bet it was.
I had this conversation earlier today with someone about doing cocktails with special bottles or higher end bottles. And I think there's that strong opinion from some that you shouldn't ruin something like this by putting in a cocktail. But I would venture out there and I've done it like that experience, and it takes a cocktail to a whole nother level. And I think it brings out things sometimes from a bottle, you know, just like adding a dash of water.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it elevates it.
All right. So what are we thinking about this, Nate?
For as much time as this spends in that ruby barrel, I don't get as much of that ruby port on it. Like it definitely, it obviously comes through in the color, but like on the flavor, you're not getting punched in the face with port. Like it doesn't have that level of sweetness that you expect from a ruby port. You know, it's got some of those, plum and dark cherry notes to it that you would expect, but I still feel like the bourbon shines through more. And I'm assuming that was intentional.
Yeah. Definitely.
Just looking at the color and hearing you say how long this spends in that barrel, I almost was expecting this to taste a little sweeter.
Sure. Yeah. The bourbon definitely still is the shining star, and as it should be with a finished product. My philosophy is a finish should always just add to the complexity of a bourbon, not take it over.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but that's my philosophy and that's how I blend. So yeah, I agree with you. I think the bourbon still shines through, but for me, the mid palate is where the port really jumps out. You get a lot of those dark fruits, those cherries, those plums. I get a little bit of strawberry even on it. I think the mid palate is where the finish really comes out and punches through, and you get a lot of that cinnamon and that heat on the front, and then it just kind of wisps away as the finish goes on.
I think that port comes through a little bit more if you hold it in your palate a little bit longer,
which would make sense.
Yeah, if you hold it in there, yeah, it does come out. See, I'm more of a tawny port or white port guy.
Yeah, a little drier.
Well, different flavor profiles.
Yeah,
like tawny ports, I get more like that vanilla and butterscotch type notes to it, and the white ports, they're still sweet, but it's a little bit more toned down on the palate.
Yeah.
And yeah, different flavor profiles, but
I think sometimes with ports, it depends on, because I always enjoyed them as like after dinner drink, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not with dessert, it is dessert.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it depends on what you had as far as a meal before doing it. This is definitely, I think that's where sometimes these finishing projects that you guys do. And, Ryan, I agree. I like your opinion of it, where it should enhance / it's not going to take over the product.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you think that it may be an unpopular
It
opinion.
accessorizes.
So I thought, Nate, you brought up Angel's Envy, and the first time I had Angel's Envy, I thought, so I enjoyed it, but I was like, this isn't what I was expecting, because I think they really put it on the map, mainstream, as far as finishing, different products.
Oh yeah.
So when it was all the rage, I think when it first came out, and everyone's like, "Oh man, this is really great. The bottle's so cool looking. It's got the wings and blah blah, like all this stuff." Tried it. I'm like, yeah, it just tastes so different,
Mm-hmm.
So I do like the way that you guys have done some of your projects that I've had. This one, it is. I mean, you've got a little bit of that. In fact, the flavor, I think the color of it, when you have a decent pour, you're looking in that. As we did earlier, you look at the bottle. I mean, it's got this deep color that even does have a little bit of a red hue to it.
Yeah.
It's going to get in your head that, you might, like you said, Nate, that you thought it was going to have more of the port influence on it. And I don't think it does either. I mean, you've got some of the darker fruits coming through on that, but it's not sweet. I wouldn't think that if you did the tawny like you're talking about, I don't think it would be quite as pleasant. I think it would be a little more brash, and I think it'd be a little drier, like on the palate. And I think what you guys did with this one, you get just enough of the sweet and enough of the. It's gonna sound so stupid. I was gonna say it, and I gotta say it, but like the juiciness of. See, I know. See,
no, had you just said
it was the hand motion that you did with it, the juiciness.
The juiciness. I don't even know what that accent is. I don't know what I'm doing. We need to do this podcast more often. Anyways,
because you're just a Chintos.
Yeah. But no, I think it gives it just enough of that to bring out a little bit of like fruit flavors that typically. This without finishing it, you would not have.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's interesting that the way you described that you kind of wanted to just take a hint or influence it, not take over the bottle. I think that it's very apparent that did not happen here.
Yeah.
Well, I think we could, if we sat here long enough, we probably could come up with some other brands out there that have done some finishing where that finish kind of shines through too much and kind of takes over a little bit.
Yeah.
Some people like it because it's like, oh, it's different than what the normal is. And some people are like, yeah, but I like the normal.
Yeah.
I still want to taste that.
Yeah. An example that I like to tell people is when it's kind of died down now, but Amburana, when Amburana was super popular, if you ever tasted anything that was Amburana finished, at least in my experience, what I tasted, that's all you got was the Amburana.
Took over.
It just overpowered everything. And that's not my cup of tea. If I'm going to finish something, I want it to complement what I'm putting into the finishing barrel.
I've got 2 Amburana whiskeys at home, and both of them taste like cinnamon apple pie.
Mm-hmm.
Every one I've ever had tastes like cinnamon apple pie.
Yeah, because it's taken over a bit. So maybe I missed it, but. This is your what bourbon going into this finishing product?
So this is the 72-21-7 mash bill, and it's basically stuff that we pulled from our bottled and bond stock.
Okay.
Yeah, most of our fall finishing stuff comes from our more higher end stocks. So yeah, generally that's what I put into the fall finishing series stuff. We want to put our best stuff into our best products, right?
Well, of course.
No, it makes sense. I was just curious because, I don't think that's always the case, with some products, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not necessarily I'm saying like in general, when you finish, you typically might not use some of your better stuff because you are finishing it and you're altering it.
Absolutely. That is a tactic too, that that I think you see it a lot more in craft distilleries, that if they have whiskey that's a little bit subpar, that's kind of the go-to is let's throw it in a wine barrel or let's throw it in something to see if it makes it better.
It's a way to get rid of some product
sure
that otherwise may not have a good reception.
Right.
So you put it out as almost and maybe you do it subtly like you guys are doing here, or maybe one would put it out there and try to get more of the flavor from the finishing. You know what I mean? Whether take it a longer time, whether it be a little bit lighter product. I think you guys coming in also, this is 118 something proof, right?
Yeah, 118. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. 118.1. So just above 118.
So just above 118. So you're going to have some strength to it again, where I think you can't, that all of it goes into it, right? I mean, when you're doing this, when you're proofing it down to where you're at, is that part of it? Or is this all at the same time, like a gamble? Like, I think this is going to be, you put this proof into the finished product, or how does that work with the finishing? Like,
so the way
you said 8 to 10 months, right?
Yeah. So whenever you're finishing products, at least my experience at Watershed, it depends on what's going into what bourbon you're putting into the finishing barrel. So the proof's going to change depending on what spirit was previously in it. So typically when I put bourbon into a Nocino barrel for Nocino finished bourbon, the proof's going to go down, because Nocino historically is a lot lower proof. If you've ever bought a Nocino bottle, the proof on there is usually around 50 proof or whatever it is. 72, I think, something like that. Apple brandy coming out of an apple brandy barrel is typically around 120 proof. So it depends on what the bourbon is that I'm dumping out that then goes in the apple brandy barrel. So all that's kind of factored in when I do those blends. But generally speaking, for the most part, whatever the proof of the bourbon is that's coming out of the barrels is going to be right around the same as when it's done finishing. So with this guy, I did barrels ranging from, I filled them at 115 all the way up to 122 proof. And then when I finished this combination of barrels, that's just what it came out to be.
Okay.
So there's a target proof that we shoot for, but at the same time, this being the first one, it was kind of a educated guess that I had to do.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. So moving forward, now I know kind of a little bit better how they're going to react in the future.
And what's the volume of what you're educated guessing?
So the wine gallons are 59 gallon barrels.
Okay.
And they're usually about 45 barrels a blend.
Oh. Okay.
So I got
slightly larger than it was 53, right?
53 is the American standard barrel.
Yeah.
These guys are 59 French oak.
French oak.
Yep.
Still love the marketing and the branding behind what you guys have done with these products. I mean, this included when you guys went through a rebranding of, I think, almost like dressing it up. We talked about on previous podcasts featuring Watershed products. Took it from a local, in my opinion, this is my opinion here, a kind of a local distillery where it was different colored, like your bourbon just said bourbon on it, right? Watershed bourbon, and it was, what color was it was like a pinkish almost, right?
It was still red, but it was a little bit lighter.
Red. It was almost like a salmon, but it was different. It was
salmon.
Like, it was like a kind of made me feel like this is a local product. Now I feel, looking at these products, it's an image that is very high class, and not to say to Greg or anyone else that maybe it wasn't before, but I feel like the whole package you guys have done with some of the products, your core products, and then obviously your specialty lines, your limited editions here, I feel like it's really dressed up a lot. I don't know. I mean, I know that was intentional probably, but I don't know if it was intentional to the point where, Nate, I don't know what your opinion is. I'm of the opinion that this is now something that when I see it, when I visit Chicago or elsewhere, and you see Watershed, okay, maybe it's not sitting on the same shelf as like your big boys yet, but it looks legit on the shelf, in my opinion. Where other products from, I think, the smaller distilleries or still kind of the boutique distilleries, not necessarily, like, you guys aren't necessarily local anymore since you guys you've gotten larger than that. You're like what I would consider, this from the cigar world, I think, more, but a boutique brand. You look legit on the shelf. And I feel like if you would have gone more widespread with the distribution of the core products, and then also stuff with this, with the old branding and the old kind of not as It doesn't pop the same way. I don't think it didn't have like the gold on there and everything else. I don't know if it had the reception that you guys have now, because everything is kind of hitting on all cylinders, it seems.
Yeah, for sure. I think that just comes with growth as well. You know, they say practice makes perfect. You know, the longer you do this, the better you get. And we have a great marketing and sales team that, you know, we have a lot of experience in those departments, and, you know, they know how to grow brands. So I think they're taking a lot of the right steps. That's for sure.
Read some of the comments here.
I think also, like, you know, Steve, you brought up some of the other like craft distilleries and stuff like that. I think some of the craft ones.
No, that's right. That's what you call it in the distillery world, not boutique.
I think with some of those, you know, if they're really young and new and they want to try and make a splash, you know, they try and do something fancy with the packaging or the label, because that's what consumers are going to see. Like, working retail in wine and liquor, I get a lot of people that come in that are saying, you know, I'm looking for something that's got a really nice label. I like a really cool looking bottle. And it's like, well, yeah, there's a reason why marketing firms exist, because you can sit there and have a great product. If it's got a shitty label on it, it's not going to pick up any attention until people start getting in word of mouth. Like, no, what's actually in it is really good. So I think some of the, you know, smaller ones, it comes across gimmicky sometimes, because it's like, they're just trying to get my attention.
Right.
Now, that could be good or bad. Someone might sit there and go, oh, this looks kind of cool. Let me try that. And it could be amazing. Or it could sit there and just, you know, you might have that consumer who's like, man, I've never heard of this one. Never seen it. Doesn't look like anything, but it's let me give it a shot.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like that's a very fine line too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It could either go really well or it could go really bad.
Yeah. I mean, so there's something to be said about like how you present the product. And I agree with Steve. You walk into an agency somewhere else and see this, it's like, oh, this actually looks like, especially I think more so the bottled and bond than the regular 4-year product. You see the bottled and bond on the shelf, you're like, all right, this looks like it belongs here. Then you have some brands that are like, wait a minute, this looks like a really cool label. Someone gets out their phone like, oh, this company's been around for 2 years and they've got a 6-year bourbon. All right.
Which I'm still not mad at. We were, you know, like we've talked about that, where you're sourcing something, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think.
I mean, as a craft distiller, you really don't have a choice.
That's, for
you have
starters,
to.
Right?
You have to, just to get off the ground. You have to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You have to have a good relationship with those companies, and obviously put the money out for it. But I mean, Nate, great points in my opinion there. That if you have something out there too gimmicky, it's going to turn people away. Or if it looks like kind of fly by night company, why even bother?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the other thing I like about your guys' stuff is between the uncut, unfiltered, the bottled and bond, the finishing series, even the apple brandy barrel, or not that, the actual apple brandy. All those labels have, you know, all the bottles are the same bottle design. The labels are pretty much the same layout, just different colors, you know, for the different products. The only one that's different is, you know, your everyday 4-year.
Right.
That's the only one that's different. Everything else has that same look. So there's some conformity to it. Whereas there are some brands, it's like, yeah, we make 5 bourbons and every single one of them's a different bottle shape and different colors. And it's like, well, how are people supposed to know that these belong to the same product? The same line
is important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the bottle. I'm interested in, so not to brag. Am I allowed to say something about this thing? So Nate and I will be going to on the 12th. So we can always report back the following week, right? Where we are going to celebrate Bourbon Heritage Month and the Fall Finishing Series in true Watershed Distillery fashion. We are going to a dinner/bourbon pairing. Ryan will be there, right?
I will be there. Yep.
And we are going to, it says exclusive first look at each of the 4 bourbon. I mean, of the rest of the 3 would be more accurate. But we are going to be enjoying all 4 of these bottles, and we will report back for sure. And hopefully maybe feature. The guys at Watershed are going a little crazy here.
Yeah, that's not a paper flyer.
This is out of out of the bourbon barrel wood.
that is out of an
Did
oak
you know that?
barrel.
Yeah. So, of course, Amy had to make that clear when I said you guys have gone over the top, and it's out of a barrel wood too.
Yeah.
Well,
So we've got
proved my case.
We've got that invite made out of oak barrel. You got the deck of cards with the really nice grooves and joints made out of oak barrel staves, and then we got the cheese board.
The cheese board, charcuterie, some may say.
Didn't Amy call it a cheese board?
I think she did.
I thought she.
I think technically
board.
is a cheese board.
She says watershed barrel.
She said cheese and wine.
Oh.
So charcuterie.
I'm gonna say
Can you put
charcuterie.
meats? Would it be meats and cheeses? Because that's charcuterie, I believe.
Well, if you did cheese and wine, you'd probably want to do one of the tumblers. Otherwise, the glass might get a little wobbly.
You're not,
Semantics.
you can set it on the table. You're not holding it.
But you got to walk from the kitchen
right.
to
The vibes tonight.
No, I don't know what's happening. Can't believe people are actually listening to this. What's wrong with us and them? Yeah, let's go to the cigar. Mike. So the cigar tonight is a new project. We had Ryan Ponist, not to be confused with Venrick, on the show last time, and he is with General Cigars, formerly with Alec Bradley Cigars. Alec Bradley Cigars is now part of General Cigars / Forged Cigars. It's under the Forged portfolio, which is a sister company to General, which is underneath STG Group, which is Scandinavian Tobacco. So super easy to follow along here
for us.
And Alec Bradley was acquired not too long ago. We talked about it on the show before. This is one of the first offerings since the acquisition. And this project it's different for Alec Bradley. And it was an interesting move, the way that this project was executed. Do you know much about this?
No. Do tell. You have my attention.
This is all Nicaraguan tobacco.
Okay.
So not necessarily all that odd right there. But Bradley Rubin, which is the younger son, Alec and Bradley, Alec Bradley Cigars from Alan Rubin. So Bradley Rubin saying that this is something that they wanted to deep dive on the blend recipes in a blend book that they had. They took their talents to do this, not at one of the factories that say, General Cigar owns or Forged owns. This is coming out of the Oliva factory.
Oh, all right.
Now you're following along where I'm saying this is kind of a unique project, right?
What?
So to my knowledge, Alec Bradley had not done much, if any, work with Oliva.
I was going to ask who did a lot of their stuff. It was either
Plasencia
and then
Raíces Cubanas.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Raíces Cubanas had done a lot, then a little less because I think of production issues as far as what's going on. And then, sorry, I'm reading some comments there. And then Plasencia was doing a lot for him as well.
Yeah.
In fact, that's how we're able to get the BS Gold done now through Plasencia by way of Alec Bradley, which is now by way of STG.
Which
was a saving grace. We were very, very happy that we were able to keep that thing going.
Well, because all the players are still there.
Right. Sort of.
There's some additional players involved, but
so to my understanding, Alan Rubin, the founder of Alec Bradley Cigars, he's not I think he took the buyout or whatever his portion of the buyout was. And now we've got Alec and Bradley, mainly Bradley being the brand ambassador. Alec, I think, is somewhat still involved. Ralph Montero, who was kind of the blender for a lot of the Alec Bradley projects, was kind of Alan Rubin's right-hand man, who also was helping us with the BS Gold blend. May or may not be doing some other things. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, Ryan. I don't know. Not you, Ryan. The other Ryan that's probably not listening. So
yeah, I'm getting a headache for it.
Everyone, let's get the whiteboard out here. Let's do a flow chart. I'm just kidding.
Draw this up, Steve.
All right. So what you got to do Let's get some X's and O's out here.
Just use that white space back there.
Yeah, that's right. All right, everyone follow me over to the fridge door here. Oh boy. All right. So here's the nitty gritty on this. And this is, like I said, all Nicaraguan tobacco. It's a Habano seed binder and wrapper. And underneath it is a combination of Criollo 98. So it's all Criollo, it says, from Jalapa, Esteli, and Condega, which are 3 of the major 4 regions of Nicaragua. So this is a solely Nicaraguan Puro here. And the branding of it is it's somewhat consistent with Alec Bradley in the sense that a lot of their stuff is not consistent.
Consistently not consistent. Love it.
I think Nate knows what I'm talking about here. There is not necessarily, when you look at the whole, if I have a lineup of like Alec Bradley products, it's opposite of what we were talking about here. There's some similar fonts, but there are, and there's some brands that are like, consistent, like the Prensado, Lost Art. So they have like these brands within the brand that are consistent more or less. The Tempest brand those blends are all similar.
Then you got the Black Market.
But then the Black Market and Black Market Esteli are similar, but they're so different from one to the other. Magic Toast looks completely different. You have the Gatekeeper. No one knows who makes that when they see it on a shelf, because if you don't have it in a box.
So you're talking about the actual makeup of the cigar.
I'm talking about
not like the branding.
No.
Oh, so you are talking about the branding.
The branding is completely different. So this one comes out, and you've got this stairway to heaven, maybe.
Like this, looking at this band, it makes me think of Magic Toast, but the name Safekeepings makes me think Gatekeeper.
Yeah. Yeah, and Alec Bradley is kind of small on the band. It's Safekeepings is kind of small on the band, so it's a more graphically kind of strong, if you will. And as you circle the cigar around, looking at the band, you've got some deep colors, obviously here, which does it, like to Nate's point, reminds me of the Magic Toast.
You got a brick wall with a fountain.
You got a fountain, and then if you look, it's got that blue that it's almost like it's a fountain with a statue, and it's like a reflecting pool.
Yeah,
very subtle on some of the details of this, and you do have the AB shield on there as well. And Ray, I know we're having some video issues. I apologize. We're trying to figure that out. If it's the back to school, internet slowdown, it's the U.S., man. First world problems.
Welcome to America.
He's in Vietnam, but
we're in America.
That's right. Probably on your end. Now that I think about it.
Deflect.
It's not my fault. What do you guys think of this cigar? Now that we've kind of go over some of the nuts and bolts of it.
Well, to me, not smoking cigars regularly, just the ones that I've had on the show before. This one's a little bit richer, I think, a little bit more full-bodied, but it's still pleasant. It's not like smack you in the face.
Yeah.
Unpleasant. I like it.
Okay.
You talk about cigars a little different than you do about bourbon.
Showing my inexperience, am I?
It's fine. It's fine. No, it's good. That's an honest review. Honest. I mean, that's what we're looking for.
What wrapper did you say is on this?
Nicaraguan Habano.
Okay, that tracks. But no, it's got kind of a little bit of that, just a slight velvetyness to that wrapper and that feel. To me, strength on this cigar is coming in medium plus. It's got a nice kind of leather note to it, and then there's some baking spice on the finish and through the nose.
Yeah, I like that description actually.
But like the first inch from the head is a little on the tight side. I did a punch, but like just squeezing it feels a little tight.
You're not getting a draw?
No, I'm getting a draw. It just feels like I'm having to work a little bit for it. So I may need to recut it just to open it up just a little bit.
Yeah, maybe straight cut to see what happens.
But no, it's right off the rip when I first lit up, because I lit mine up before you guys did, because I wanted to get into the cigar a little bit to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
I know it right off that first couple puffs, like I started getting that leather note.
Any rye bread?
Huh?
Any rye bread?
Oh gosh, I couldn't tell you last time I had rye bread, but I know the flavor profile. I could see
There's
that
a
because a
breadiness
little bit
to
of that
it.
spice. There's some-
Breadiness to it.
I'm getting that spice that you're talking about, and that
Yeah.
when you very first started describing that velvetyness, I get that.
Well, I was talking about that more the texture of the wrapper. Like when you rub your finger across the wrapper of the cigar, it's got kind of a felt, not to be confused with spelt. Thank you. Thank you for getting that joke.
But
There's like 5 people out there that would get that joke.
You know, like a marble rye bread, right?
Yeah.
Nothing? Not getting that?
Again, I couldn't tell you last.
I
couldn't tell you last time I had rye bread. Maybe a
You're just a white bread kind of guy, Steve.
No, I was
No.
gonna say, what do you? Shit, I didn't even mean this. I'm just like the juiciness.
It's definitely.
So when was
it's
last
definitely-
time you had marble rye bread on a sandwich?
Oh,
When was the last time? And I didn't mean it because I'm
I'm
already going for what sandwich has marble rye bread?
Reuben.
Yeah, I know. The Reuben, Alan Reuben.
Oh.
I didn't mean it. I was trying not to do it, but I can't just let it hang low fruit
No,
up
when
here.
you said rye bread, that's what I was thinking.
All right. I think it's got a little bit of that.
Okay,
Okay.
but it's definitely.
on the audio, especially.
I'm just moving on. No, it's definitely. I think especially if you look at the cherry on mine, like it's definitely densely packed. Like it's
In a good way, bad way.
I mean, it's not falling apart. The ash holds well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I'm gonna straight cut mine and see if that kind of opens it up a little bit. Because recently we had a cigar on the show, and the first time I smoked it, I did a V cut on it, and it was just too light, too easy of a draw.
Mm-hmm.
Now every time I smoke that cigar since then, I've done a punch cut on it, and it's been just beautiful.
You like it?
So sometimes when I've been sitting outside on my back patio, I've just taken this lighter, thanks to Josh Bentley and Altadis,
Shout out to a sponsor,
which has the punch cutter on it.
Trinidad Espiritu number 3 lighter.
Yep. And I've just kind of been using that, so that way I'm not hauling out all my stuff. So I've been doing a punch cut a little bit more often. But this is one, I might have to go back to using, my V or a straight cut on, just open it up just a little bit more.
Yeah. You also have a draw poker, don't you, on one of yours?
I do have a draw poker.
Just saying, try that first, maybe.
Reach into his bag of tricks over there.
That's right. That's right. He's also got balloon animals here later coming up. And
There it is.
there she is. I enjoy the cigar. Didn't know what to think of it when I first smoked a sample of it, so I was excited to try to smoke this tonight with you guys. This is thanks to Forged in general for sending this to the podcast. We appreciate that, for that support there, because there are some cigars that say Tinder Box hasn't picked up yet. That's why sometimes we want to do it on the show just to see what the thoughts are here, if we get any feedback from the audience that may or may not have had some of these cigars like the Alec Bradley Safekeepings, but this is a pretty new one, so we want to showcase it. We always want to try to showcase stuff that is featured at our sponsor, Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. But there are times, based on the guest or based on some cigars that we have at our disposal, that we want to get on the show. As I said earlier, Tinder Box at Easton does carry quite a bit of the Alec Bradley line, along with a lot of the Forged products. Like we did, what did we do with Ryan a couple weeks ago?
that was the new La Gloria
Grand Legato. Yeah.
That 7.25 by 62, 63.
63. Yeah.
63.
Yeah,
Double
that's a
figurata.
big dog. That's a big dog there.
Yeah. You and Ryan, yours lasted the entire show.
That it did.
And I didn't smoke anything the last hour.
What does that mean? That you didn't talk enough?
I don't know if that was positive or negative.
No, because the second
Factual.
cigars that we normally smoke, they were all the way over there, and I didn't want to get up and be a distraction.
I get it. Took one for the team. Could have asked. I would have gotten it. I mean, I got up earlier. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's because you need to get the sweat out of your eyes.
Yeah, for everyone's sake. Let's talk about the pairing here. Let's talk about this. So as we round out, and again, thanks to Watershed Distillery, thanks to Ryan, thanks to Amy, everyone at Watershed for throwing this product our way and inviting us to a dinner that you guys can't go to. But yeah, thank you to you guys for that. Is that awkward? Not for me.
Vibes, Steve, the vibes.
Yeah, we'll let you know how it is. Looks great. And then also thanks
we'll
to Forged
post some
Cigars.
pictures.
Forged Cigars for the Alec Bradley safekeeping. Check out the other Alec Bradley and Forged products at Tinder Box at Easton, Columbus, Ohio. Let's do this here. We do the rating. So best is 10, and we do 3 ratings: the whiskey, the cigar, and the pairing. And Ryan, as our guest of honor, go ahead.
So I'll start with the cigar. I said it earlier. I'll kind of echo what I was saying. This one, to me, and again, I smoke cigars just on occasion. I'm not a regular cigar smoker. This one feels like it has a little more weight to it, a little bit more spice, a little bit more kick. I would give it probably a 7. It wasn't terrible. I wouldn't say it was overly enjoyable, but I mean, it's smokable.
The whiskey, right on the brochure.
Right.
It's smokable.
It's smokable. Check it out.
So the whiskey, biased because this is one of my projects. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. For the first go around, the first run, not really having a ton of experience with wine finish, just doing all the independent research kind of on my own. I'm really happy with how much port contribution there was. Happy with the overall finish itself. Super sweet on the mid palate, like I said earlier. A lot of those dark fruits, plum, strawberry, things like that. I would give it an 8.5. And then together, I think, and again, I don't know if this goes back to just not smoking cigars all the time. I think going from the cigar to the whiskey completely elevates the whiskey to a different level. And I'm sure,
yes,
100%, 100%.
After the smokable comment,
the sweetness just jumps out of that glass.
Yes.
The combination, I would say, is an easy 9.
After Ryan first did that, where he went cigar to whiskey, he leans over to me and goes, "Dude, have you gone back to the whiskey yet?"
Oh my
and I was
God.
like, "Yeah." And he's like,
why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Why do you think it elevates it?
I mean,
I don't have the answer.
Not knowing anything about cigars and just smoking on occasion, I don't know if it's just how dense the cigar is and the more robust notes that it has, and then going to the sweetness from the port. I don't know if it elevates it in some way. That's all I can say. Is the port jumps out of the glass.
Yeah, I'll Nate, you go ahead. I think the reason it does it with this cigar is the leather. For me, the breadiness of it. It's not dry, but it's kind of that again, breadiness. So a little like toasty flavor to the cigar. It takes out, as well as we're on our second glass. It takes away any kind of burn or anything coming from, I think, the glass, leaving the sweet notes to just go crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Nate, go ahead.
So with the whiskey, I'm there with Ryan. I give this one an 8.5 as well. Part of that's because I'm also trying to see, give some room for the next 3 finishes. Yeah. I can't sit there and rate this one too high and the other ones be better. It's like, well, shit, they're not quite at 10, but I got to rate them higher than I rate. So, but no.
Long term here.
Yeah. So definitely a solid product. Great first shot at your first port barrel finish.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what you did really well, which might also be one of the hardest things to do with the finishing product, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, is finishing it in something, but still making your core product be the star of the show.
Absolutely.
There are some brands out there that they'll sit there and do a finish, but it's either to hide something or to overpower it.
Mm-hmm.
So that way that finishing barrel ends up taking over,
right?
Becoming the focus. And sometimes people sit there and go, "Oh, I like their stuff, but I like that, so that'll be really good." And so sometimes they get so locked in on that finishing barrel, they want that more. But I think definitely solid. I think this is another one of those where, well, actually, unlike a lot of your guys's like uncut or finishing stuff, I think a lot of your guys' single barrels and whatnot, and we've talked about this on the show before, punch under their proof. Because like I had a single barrel from you guys that was 142. And everyone that I tried it on was guessing like 110, 120.
Yeah.
A lot of your single barrels and uncut punch below. I think this one actually punches right about where it's at.
I would
About
agree.
120.
Yeah. This one punches right there. It's
I guess
it's
low
not
120s.
punching below its weight class. It's hitting right where it says on the label. Which again is a little bit different than what I normally get from a lot of your guys' stuff, but again, sometimes different is good.
Yeah.
Cigar, I give Cigar a 7.5. I like this. It's got a good flavor to it. Like I said, that leather kind of hit me right off the get-go, and some of those bread notes Steve's talking about, I think a lot of that's gonna come from that Criollo. That's all that filler. Because I do like that tobacco.
Yeah.
I think that's where you're probably getting a lot of that bread, that toastiness or nuttiness. I think that's where it's coming from. Definitely a solid smoke. It's got some, it's pretty straightforward all the way through the cigar. That flavor's there from start to finish. It's not changing up on you, but it's a good flavor. It's not blowing your socks off, but it's just a solid smoke. And I'm going to ask this because we haven't talked about it. Price point.
Let me see if this page has the MSRP because I just know off of the conversation I had. So we are smoking the Robusto. Yeah.
Yes.
5x52. So the Robusto the MSRP is $12.29.
Okay, so OTP tax in the state of Ohio shipping, you're going to be in that 13, 14 range.
Yeah, I mean,
thereabouts.
So on the shelf in Ohio, you're probably going to see this coming in around $13.50, give or take.
Okay,
so $13.50 to $14, I'd imagine. For the Robusto, this comes in 4 different sizes: Corona, Robusto, Toro, and then the Gordo, which is a 6x60. They come in 24-count boxes. Again, made at Oliva's factory there. So you're ranging from $10.49 MSRP up to $15.19 MSRP.
All right. So yeah, in the state of Ohio, you're looking at like $13 to $16 stick, depending on size. In Ohio. And then pairing. So I was 8.5 on whiskey, 7.5 on cigar. I think this pairing goes better cigar to whiskey. As Ryan was talking about, you get a lot more of that port coming through when you do it that way. And I think part of that's because from the cigar, because of the spice notes that are on that, like your palate's tasting spice. So as soon as you go to the whiskey, your palate's already tasting spice. So any of the spice that's already on the whiskey is not going to stand out because you already taste that from the cigar.
It's almost muted.
Yeah. So that port is that sweetness. That's what's jumping out because you don't taste that yet. Going from the whiskey to the cigar, because I think the whiskey has more sweetness to it than the cigar does, the cigar just amplifies all those spice notes. So I don't like going whiskey to cigar, but cigar to whiskey is absolutely fantastic. So, and yeah, that direction's good enough to kind of push it just a little bit over. So I'll give the pairing an 8.75.
8.75. All right, the whiskey, the Watershed Distillery Fall Finishing Series, finished in port barrels.
Batch one.
Batch one.
2024. I like it. Moving on to cigar.
Great notes. Great notes.
I like it.
Trying to be like you with the cigar. It's drinkable. And by drinkable, I mean you can drink it. And when you're done with it, you drink it.
How about this?
Well said.
How about this in your cocktail?
That would be wicked. That would be wicked. This in a Manhattan. I think it'd be wicked.
Just don't do it around me.
Fine. I'm gonna give it I'm with you guys. I'm right with you. 8.25, 8.5. I mean, it's tough because it's a unique project. So there's not a whole lot to compare it to. I think when we talk about like your mainstream one again, like Angel's Envy, port finished, right? That's like way lighter. It's sweeter. It's not a flavored whiskey by any means, but you're just from the process, I think you're getting a little bit the essence of a flavored whiskey because of that. And it's not a negative because it's not a flavored whiskey by any means. But I mean, with this one, this is it's a stout pour. I mean, this is you're gonna feel it.
What's this gonna come in at?
118.
No,
some change.
Price. The bottle.
Amy will have to chime in on that one. I'm not sure. I just blend it, guys.
I want to say they were like $80 or $90 last year.
Yeah, I get them confused from you guys. It's either like 89 or 69 with the different releases of different things. So
69's uncut.
Okay.
I want to say
89.
It's around between 70 and 80. I think. Hopefully, Amy
she's still listening. So
Yeah.
we are.
Let us know.
Here we go. But yeah, so I think it's just a great project, and it's a fun one that you guys, being the first time you've done this batch one, that you guys are starting the fall finishing series for the second time doing this. $79.99.
There it is.
So the cigar, this project for me is very interesting also for different reasons, because I along with I think a lot of cigar enthusiasts, smokers, whatever you want to call us, we were interested to see where Alec Bradley goes from the acquisition.
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
That happens in any industry. You're always curious when there's change in the guards, there's more money behind it, but the same people are behind it. There's all these different moving parts, but who's calling the shots truly? And what are we looking at it from more of a boutique or craft, depending on the industry? Are we looking at it from the corporate side of it when you get the big boys in there? We're all about profit margin more than we are about anything else. And I think this was done. It was done well. It reminds me of some other Oliva products that I'm not going to mention, but I think that when you have a company like Oliva, that this is a cigar maker, right? That they make a small portfolio. They don't have a very large portfolio themselves. So to be able to work with a company like that and to utilize their tobacco, I think you're going to get a different expression of some of their other things. I think this is different than anything else that has the Oliva brand on it. And I think it's also different than anything that Alec Bradley has put out. That being said, with the price point being a tick higher than a lot of the Alec Bradley products, not like the Prensado, but some of their others, it's not that far out of whack. It's just, to me, the one note coming from this, as far as throughout the cigar, it's left me wanting a little bit more from one of the first big products and projects that they've done with STG. I guess I was expecting something else, which is not their fault. That's on me. I was expecting something else. So
given our history in the industry, we've seen, companies, smaller companies get purchased by some of the big boys before, even ones that STG has purchased in the past.
Yeah.
We've seen some of those brands go on and do great things, some better than what they were before they were acquired. And we've seen others where like the brands ended up dying off. Like things got worse. Like brand used to be great and then the brand went downhill. So it was one of those things where, rightfully so, people were asking the question, what's going to happen to the Alec Bradley portfolio? Because at one point they had a #1 cigar of the year. So what's going to happen with it? It's definitely a legitimate question to ask for people in the cigar industry or people that love the cigars.
You may or may not be able to see this, but this is the open box of the safekeeping.
That's a lot of red.
I don't get it.
I
don't get it. And I know Bradley's got a different concept, right? I like the way his mind thinks. He's a very good marketing mind. Bradley Rubin, the younger son. Red, it'll stand out in a walk-in humidor. This, you're scanning, you're going to see this bright red box, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it's very almost the consistency of this, and I didn't talk about it because I want to kind of like bring it up towards the end here, but the logo is the same, the stairs is there, but it's completely different artwork. It's more almost color. Like they went back to some of their Art Deco stuff they had done before with that, in my opinion. And then on this, that's more elegant, but it's all dark drab colors, and the whole thing is maybe it'll grow on me. I don't know. It's just not what I was expecting. It just wasn't. So
I mean, for the packaging, for the wrapper, or the band that was on this cigar, and the way this cigar is, you were almost expecting like a traditional wooden box, or maybe something black, or something that's the color that was on the band.
They know more than me. They were bought out for a lot of money, more money than I'll see in my lifetime. Alec Bradley was acquired for the published amount of $72.5 million. So they did all right. I think they're still doing all right. I think they did this for different reasons. Like I said, this will stand out. This red box will stand out in a walk-in humidor. If you would have made a box with these darker colors, it would have just been
blended in with everything else.
Yeah, including the shelves and the whatever lighting is in the humidor. So
and they also have another new cigar coming out that they talked about on social media this week. That's it's a black market Halloween Filthy Hooligan.
The Booligan.
Yeah.
It is.
So they do one every year called the Filthy Hooligan. That is, they do two. It's a double wrapper. So it's a natural wrapper and then a candela, which is green. Okay. So this comes out around St. Patrick's Day. And then they do one that's a triple, where it's
Shamrock.
Yeah, the Shamrock, which is a lighter wrapper, a darker wrapper, and the green candela. So so people always expect that cigar to come out around St. Patrick's Day, and that's why they throw the green in there. Mm-hmm. Great marketing on that.
Bulligan.
So now they're doing the Bulligan coming out for Halloween.
You get it?
Which is a lighter and darker wrapper.
I get it.
Boo.
Right. Keep going, yeah.
Again. So it's a play off of Boo for Halloween.
Right.
Hooligan.
Wait.
If you have
start
to
over for me.
He's not the marketing guy.
I'm glad this froze while I'm doing this. I hope no one else heard this. The audio is going just fine. I'm sure the video sucks. And then they're looking at us like in snapshots of stupid faces. Yeah. The pairing, I'm with you guys. I won't reiterate. I agree completely with you guys on the pairing of these two things. The cigar and the whiskey, they go really well, more so in the one direction there. Yep. So I'll give the pairing 8.5. I think it was we could do a lot better with the cigar. I had this cigar actually on Monday night because we had some extras. So I had Spencer Lappin, who's been on the podcast. How many times now? 20-some, 30-some?
Oh, I stopped keeping track, but
he was over with his fiance, and we had a nightcap with those porterhouses from your place, and then we had this I had this much left of a barely 2 pours of an E.H. Taylor uncut, unfiltered, and that combo went really well together because I think that was more of a bolder, a little drier, a little spicier type of a pour. Mm-hmm. So I think you could pair better both ways, but I would definitely encourage anyone to check this out, especially if you're in the area. Obviously, you can get your hands on this first one of the fall finishing series. First of the 4.
This is available now.
It's available now. Yep. You can come into the bottle shop and purchase this as we speak.
Well, not now.
Are you guys still open?
If you wanted to.
Amy's in the office, so just hit Amy Jones up. Hit Amy Jones up at the office right now, and I'm sure she'll let you in and unlock the door for you. That's the last bottle we're getting from you guys. Other than that, happy Whiskey Wednesday, guys. Thank you very much again, Ryan. Nate, good to have you back in. This is the end of part 1. We'll go into part 2. And I'm looking for some audience participation from you guys, but we do have a topic to get started here. So cheers. We will see you in part 2. And then for those that are listening to this part last, it'll be 2 weeks. And we're going to have Altadis in the garage next time. So thank you. Intermission. Guys, this is Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
You were
I do, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not a connoisseur, meaning I'm not real good at it, obviously.
Mhm.
But I like what I taste.
Yeah.
I've been down there too.
And God, when I first tasted this, I don't know that
So
I tasted that much flavor.
when you're done with
That's what I
that,
like to hear.
when you're done with that, try this one. This is my bottle. This is so last week.
I've never seen that at Kroger.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
last week, we got our liquor delivery a day early because of the holiday. And because earlier in the week, I was like, hey, Matt, you want me to pull the price tag since we're out of uncut, unfiltered? He's like, nope. And I was like, oh, I'm thinking, oh, we're getting like more transferred in. Because I was like, batch 2, like that's got to be all gone. Batch 3 shows up. I'm like, oh, so like I didn't see anything on social media. I didn't see any press releases about it. Didn't hear anything about it. You guys just kind of slow rolled batch 3 out.
Yeah, it's definitely it was a silent release.
And so I was like, well, that one's going home with me. So this is batch 3 of the uncut, unfiltered.
Totally.
Yes.
Well, like I said, man, I wish I was much more. Steve will tell you, I send him text a lot and ask him like, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, there's certain things I like and certain things I don't like. I don't think I was too. My own personal taste was well. My buddy got me a sympathy bottle when my dad died,
Mm-hmm.
and I liked it, but I had your Watershed. I think it's like maroon pinkish label.
Yeah,
The 4-year of the bottle.
it's the 4-year of the bottle of the bond.
A
Yeah,
little shorter bottles, the 4-year, and the
Yeah.
this bottle with that darker color to it's the bottled and bond.
Yeah, I save all my bottles for all the different stuff I drink. I even have an old Crow bottle.
There you go.
But yeah, that stuff, Watershed, I have to say. And that's when I saw it was Watershed tonight, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, walk
Awesome.
on down.
Yeah.
We're gonna stick around,
And-
grab that mic over there just in case you want to say anything. It's the one on the
Okay.
ground there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your intermission's almost up?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We actually had someone.
I
I can't hear them
Yeah.
because they're watching live
Well,
still.
And I was saying before we went live, you know, I had a customer come into the store yesterday that
No, around.
he had
On the
asked
ground.
me. It's over here.
Oh, okay.
He had asked
Okay.
me. He's like, "Hey, did you guys get anything new in?"
Just watch the table.
And so I told him like, "Well, all the allocated stuff's gone. We still have some stuff here behind the counter." And Watershed quietly released batch 3 of their uncut, unfiltered. He's like, "Do what?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's back there next to the rest of the Watershed." He beelined back there, grabbed the bottle, and goes, "Yeah, this is going home with me."
There you go.
Because he's got batch 1 and 2, and he's like, "This," he goes, "It was you that put me onto this, but this is one of my top 5 whiskeys.
Nice.
love that.
Is the uncut, unfiltered." Yesterday we actually had a couple representatives from OHLQ in the store because our store is going to be hosting an event coming up soon. Details are on OHLQ, but there's some other stuff that I can't say. And they actually went around because in our store we have signs, you know, where all the bourbon is. It just says American whiskey because American whiskey is bourbon, but there's also some ryes that are made in the States. So on the shelves, it just says American whiskey, and then there's one that says Ohio whiskey. And the OHLQ rep actually went around and started.
What's up?
Uh-oh.
Kill his mic, will you?
What?
But actually started adding little tags underneath the American whiskey signs that say bourbon, because people always go, "Where's the bourbon?" It's like it's on the back wall. Oh, these just say American whiskey. It's like, well, bourbon has to come from the U.S. So, did we get you in trouble?
Yes, you did. No, I'm just
No, I'm here. I'm the one telling him to check his phone because I saw Amy message me, and then all of a sudden I look down and she says Steve's lit. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
she apparently hasn't seen the podcast before.
Yeah, no, he's not. No, he's still speaking in print.
That's right.
My buddy into
Watershed, yeah.
Watershed did the tour, and I bought a green Watershed hat. I noticed that hat. I'm a hat guy.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, these are like brand new. I hadn't seen them till today, and I was like, Amy, ring this up for me.
Yeah, it's at the bottle shop, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
At the bottle shop.
Are you guys ready for part 2? See where it goes?
Yep. Let's do it.
Amy, I'll try not to get too lit if you're still watching. Now I might out of spite, but all right.
She has no clue.
I think she does.
No.
I don't know. She's had to watch the show before, right? Maybe
Yeah,
she
but the
tuned
one
out
where-
part 1.
Yeah, but the one where it was Amy, Ann, and
Oh, that was a long time ago. That was like 3+ years ago at this point. That's crazy. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 325, part 2, Beyond the BS, and we are still rolling with Watershed Distillery and Ryan Venrick. We have the first of the 4 fall finishing series. This is the port finished barrels, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a product that is available now only in Columbus, Ohio at their distillery at the bottle shop. There's going to be more coming out, 3 more of the series. Rattle those off if you would.
Yeah, so we have the port finished as the first one to be released. Then the next one will be our apple brandy finished bourbon. So that's our bottled and bond stock bourbon that we put into brandy barrels. Finish that for about 10 to 12 months. And then after that, we'll have our batch 2 of maple syrup finished bourbon. That one did well enough that we're going to do that again this year. And then our my personal favorite of the lot, the Nocino finished bourbon to round it out right around the Christmas time holiday.
That's about as unique as you guys are going to get, right?
There's not many distilleries that make Nocino, period. I think there's about 3 in the entire country that make it. So the Nocino finished bourbon is pretty exclusive.
I've never had a Nocino better than yours.
I've never had a Nocino other than yours. So
it's not common at all.
No,
that's for sure. It's pretty unique.
Well, and the one thing I'd alluded to with Steve there was when you guys first did the Nocino finished bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
We did the ladies' night.
We had so many people here that we emptied the bottle. So then what we started doing is we took the bourbon and the Nocino and just blended them
together. That was a
cocktail. Just blended the 2 of them together.
That was a cocktail. It was like 2-3 parts bourbon, 1 part Nocino.
I bet it was delicious.
It was very delicious. I feel like that's where that product that you guys are talking about, the Nocino barrel finish, fall finishing series was
inspiration
was born. Right here in this garage. All right, part 2, we go kind of outside the realm of a normal cigar and bourbon or whiskey podcast. Looking at you guys out there, if you guys want us to talk about anything in part 2, always open to the comments on Facebook, especially. We are live on YouTube as well. Sorry about, we do have some video issues. It seems to be maybe back to school here in the neighborhoods around me, that the internet bandwidth is being a little bit temperamental, but hopefully you guys can hear us and you can throw some comments up there, especially on Facebook live every other week now. I'm trying to post the schedule. We did have guests lined up. Luckily, Ryan stepped in last minute with this. We were going to do the whiskey as it was, and we already had guests lined up. So it was kind of one of those things. Nate and I were going to drink this whiskey and talk to people remotely, Matt Booth and Jonathan Herring. We're going to reschedule them hopefully for October, but hopefully you guys check out the Bourbon and BS community page on Facebook, as well as the Bourbon and BS podcast page itself. And we'll be putting the updates on the schedule and guests and the dates so you guys can follow along now that we are not every week. And we appreciate you guys enjoying your off weeks from us and letting us enjoy some of our off weeks with our family and friends and trying to get through the busy summer, now fall months. And we'll see if we go back to week or we just do it as we get guests. And maybe sometimes some months will be 3 or 4 and other times will be 2. We just want to make sure we're putting out good content and not just forcing it on you guys. So Ray Chester Herring was not unreliable. He was actually not feeling well and was hoping last minute that he would feel good enough to be smoking and drinking with us along with Matt Booth. But I am looking forward to those of you that have not met Matt Booth before. Very, very interesting story. Very interesting guy. And if you guys have had Room 101 cigars or seen Room 101 jewelry, also now he's with General and Ford Cigars doing the Sancho Panza, the Los Santos Deluxe. I mean, he is definitely a name in this industry of the cigars that you may or may not have heard of, but it's going to be a great interview. Looking forward to that. So part 2 tonight, I'm going to start the conversation, see where it goes. Why are you laughing, Nate? Why are you laughing? Let's hear it.
Say something.
Say something.
That's what the topic is. Say something. Like
It's more the inflection of say something, not say something.
And then I was like, say anything.
That's a great movie.
John Cusack.
I want my $2.
No, wrong.
Oh shit!
That was Better Off Dead.
Damn it.
Ah.
All right, whatever.
No, say anything.
Boombox. I love it.
Yeah. How old are you, Ryan?
33.
Fuck off.
Have you heard of John Cusack?
Who?
How about was it John Hughes? Breakfast Club.
Brat Pack.
Who would you know?
Molly Ringwald.
Yeah. Emilio.
It's just great whiskey, boys.
Emilio Estevez. Robert Downey Jr.
There we go. Now
He
we're
was-
speaking.
Yeah, he was adjacent.
You mean Iron Man?
Right.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, from Iron Man.
I knew that was coming.
We are talking about Iron Man tonight, and do you say something when someone is so never mind clueless?
Not John Hughes, was it?
Ferris Bueller, is that John Hughes? I think it was.
Fast Times at Ridgemont Highway.
Yeah, and a lot of classics out there. Do you say something? I don't know if I can pull up how I let's see down. Of course not. That's cool.
It was John Hughes.
Nice.
Nice call, Steve.
He's big in Chicago area too, which is where that movie took place. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a famous movie, Ryan. It starred Matthew Broderick. Have you ever heard of this?
Bueller.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm back in.
He's back in the game.
What was the name of that teacher?
This is great
He
whiskey.
used to have-
Yeah.
The teacher used to have his own TV show.
Ben Stiller. No,
Ben Stein.
I know.
Jesus.
Oh boy.
We have
Oh
derailed.
boy. We've got some comments already rolling in here.
Did we?
Huh. Ray comes out swinging.
If anyone's gonna say something, it's Ray.
Ray, so
I can't see it. What do you say?
Yeah, I can't see it either.
I'd like to say something about the number of school shootings in America. Another 4 dead today. So rest in peace. Absolutely tragic. 14-year-old in the Atlanta area. And I don't know all the facts. This is just what I've seen on alerts and I was watching the news before doing the podcast, as I normally do. But this was in the Atlanta area. I don't know where exactly, but it was a 14-year-old, what I understand. And we're not a news station, right, guys? Appalachia High School. I understand there was like a retired cop on duty, kind of doing the school security, did not necessarily duck out of the situation, stepped in to a point. They were able to apprehend the 14-year-old alive. So this is a little different. He gave up, Kevin says. But yeah, so no, Ray, I'm not going to avoid it like everyone else. It's kind of part of the reason I brought it up. I don't want to get too far political. Like we try not to. It's sometimes easy to dive into it, especially in the U.S. right now, given the circumstances and the calendar, part of the calendar that we're in right now. I don't know what the solution is to this. This is tragic. We just went through an attempted assassination on a former president that's currently running for president. That I don't want to say surprisingly it's not, but it is still. Like, it's not even part of the conversation less than a month later with the presidential debate. I think the mainstream media in this country, Ray, how is it political? It always turns political with that stuff. It always turns political because, you know, it always turns into gun laws, gun rights, all of that stuff. And it goes full blown left versus right in this country. I know you lived in this country, Ray. For those of you who are still living in this country, I'm sure it's elsewhere, right? It's obviously elsewhere. A lot of times the biggest gun crimes committed are in cities that are very, very strong in their gun laws. And that's the fact of the matter. I'm not saying Republican or Democrat. I am just saying that bit of it. And so that, I think I can appreciate Ray bringing that up, because this is a current event that we are not fully informed. At least I'm not. I don't know about you two at the table, and Kevin, I know you keep a good eye on this, but this is happening today. This is just something that it's political in the sense that it turns political constantly. This will now be part of the presidential debate. In my opinion, I'm going to predict this, that when Trump and Harris stand up at the podiums for the debate, this will be a talking point. This will absolutely be a talking point.
100%.
And so there's a lot of issues. And what always seems to happen, from my viewpoint, is that it turns into a gun law debate. And clearly there are some bigger issues going on that a 14-year-old would need to go in there. And I will also say that there are a lot of 14-year-olds out there that were not just now, but even when I was growing up. I don't know how far back this would go. Kevin, I know you're older than me. Ray, you're older than me. Some of the people listening are older than me. But I know, like, growing up in the 80s and 90s, dude, if it was, I'm going to say this in not a disrespectful way, because it's not socially acceptable. If it was even a inkling that you could get away with this shooting up schools, there were a lot of kids in a lot of schools in the 80s and 90s that if they thought that this was a thing that you could do, they would do it, because they were bullied. They were whatever it is, whatever things are going around in that adolescent mind, and just no consequences. I'd rather be dead than alive. The suicide thing. This is all related to a lot of other things going on. Your entire country as a whole, I don't have the stats. I know that the gun violence, if you took us, you guys have probably seen those rattling off those stats, that if you took out the 5 major cities that have the biggest gun crimes and casualties, we would actually be towards the bottom of the list of all the countries in the world. So no, it's not our entire country as a whole. It's just what you see on the news in the big cities typically, but not always. So, I mean, this happens too often. Clearly, we just had another shooting here in Columbus. It's every day now. That's a pandemic, if you ask me. What do you guys think? I'm not going to just, I'm on a soapbox here. I just know that, Ray, from the outside looking in, yes, that's what a lot of the media would portray as happening in this country. And you have to really kind of take note of where it's happening and how it's happening and why it's happening to the best of your ability. But it's so interesting that if you remove the 5 biggest cities, can you do that? Yes, you can.
LA, Chicago, New York, DC, Baton Rouge.
Yeah. So,
which aren't even the 5 biggest.
It's not a defense by any means. That's where it gets like the political thing. When you actually say something like that, everyone thinks like, oh, now you want to debate this. It's like, no, I don't. I'm just like, you said it, like, now I'm saying this. Like, I'm not fighting. I'm not trying to defend the fact that there's a problem with something like that. That's fucked up, man. Like, school shootings that should not happen. There are, like, in that one, there's a retired cop. There's cops in schools now, in the suburbs around us here in Columbus. Even, do you know a township is like it's not that big of a township, and I know around us that has had police officers in the school. I mean, this is everywhere, because that's the way that you try to think, I'm going to handle this. A lot of the suburbs, even in Columbus, to my knowledge, we're trying to be like the big cities in a lot of ways, in good ways and bad ways. But when you look at the big cities and the urban areas, it's like there's metal detectors walking into schools.
Yeah.
Well, this is 14th largest city. again, it's not a debate. I'm bringing this up because that's kind of the topic is, do you say something? I didn't want it to go necessarily political. I mean, I've got a situation going on Kevin, my street with the neighbor next to me and how they did and you address it. Do you say something? Is it worth it? Do you bottle it up? Do you say it's better off I don't say anything? With this type of a thing, what has ever been done to deter this type of event? How can you say that you're not avoiding it? I'm not avoiding it. First of all, if that's what I thought you meant it like that. There's been a lot of ways to deter that with gun laws and also with having security/police on site at schools. It's just like everything else. It's like the biggest cities that have the strongest and most strict gun laws are the biggest in actual gun crimes. So it's
there's not a single law on the books
before pot. It's the same thing. Before pot has been legalized in a lot of the areas of America, because it was illegal. Do you think that people were not smoking pot? There's laws against something because people do it. That's the biggest part of it.
There's not a single law on the books that allows a 14-year-old to even be in possession of a firearm, let alone buy one.
And I would agree with that. That seems to be working out well for you. No, I agree. That's not the way you handle it. Absolutely. I mean, you have to have the consequences for that. You have to have generational education on that, and obviously not just throw pills at kids when they're struggling with things. I think there's a lot of ways you can handle that. The issue is there's so many moving parts there. We are overpopulated at this point. The big cities that are very, very much the ones I'm speaking about are overpopulated. They're living on top of each other. It's quickly in small pockets turning into not good living situations. That therefore there are generations now coming up that are struggling with issues that would not have happened in the and I'm not trying to take over this, guys. I don't think it would happen in the magnitude it's happening if people weren't living on top of each other, if the community was still taking care of people. It's not something that the government nor pharmaceuticals can handle, and I think that's what we're showing. Any thoughts, anyone?
There's more school kids killed in crosswalks than there are in school shootings. Statistics. Can't argue those. Don't care about your feelings. That's just the way stats are.
Yeah, see, I mean, it turns into that. Ray's commenting again, and Ray, we're not going to stay on this the whole time, but I think this is the whole thing. I appreciate, come all the justifications. Here they come. I forget that it's your God-given right to stockpile as many firearms as possible at home. Historically, that has worked out for a lot of people living in different lands the best they can. In my opinion, I think that this is something that, on the other side of that, is if you don't have those, and I can speak for myself. You guys, Kevin, Nate, Ryan, I do not. Hopefully, there's no criminals listening, other than you guys. I do not own a firearm.
I'm an angel.
It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the fact that at some point you can protect yourself. It's not the same thing, in my opinion. And Demi says new topic,
and she came up with one. It's right there above her.
And even Ray says, let's change the subject.
Shocker there.
So how about the gangs? Oh, and that's your suggestion? That's the suggestion. New topic. How about the gangs taking over apartments in Colorado? Well, if you had guns. All right. Next.
No. Did you hear the other development with that whole thing?
No. But Ann, I love Ann saying this, or a new topic for the economy.
How about something positive, Ann? Jesus.
Let me change the logo. Do you guys want the Fox or CNN logo up in the corner here? Not sure which direction we want to go.
Yeah, kind of echo what you were saying, Steve. It all, kind of going back to what Ray was saying. How's it political? Like this whole conversation, that's what it instantly turned into. That's what this world revolves around. Like the media has a huge influence on what you see day to day, and that's what it's about. I mean, unfortunately, that's what it is in 2024. Is most things are turned political, unfortunately.
you get a little bit of dormancy there, between the big political, presidential races, even though the irony, in my opinion, is that the biggest things that you should start voting on first and foremost are your local and your state issues. But we've turned into a country, and I can't speak for Vietnam or anywhere else, but we have the opportunity that you can vote on local issues based on where you live, not only like city, township, but also state. So there's a lot of opportunity to vote that even people that speak loudly about like a national election, I don't know if you guys have heard it, but they're like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. I'm probably not going to vote anyways. And then you talk to them about like, did you vote for city council? And even in where I work, where we have a flavored tobacco ban in the city of Columbus, part of the way I explain things is that it's interesting because our city council in the city of Columbus voted this through without any vote from the city itself. So from the registered voters, I couldn't vote on that issue. It affects my livelihood and everything else. I can give you what I read on it that no one else that I talked to barely has read. They hear the sound bites from the media. Then I followed up with, well, the issue is that even the city council president ran unopposed again. Mm-hmm. And so like of the people that are on that ballot, two people that were in the position were running against someone, and both of them were leaning towards one party. It's just the fact of the matter that it's tough to change that when the machine is running that way. And it could be left or right, whatever it might be. But yeah, get out and vote. If you live in a country that you can vote, do it. See what happens. Maybe you might actually get what you are hoping for. All right, next to the economy, let's go here, and we're going to go.
I like Amy's comment, Dem Bears. Who's excited football's back?
So the Bears, yeah.
Nope.
Nope,
Those
what?
vibes again, Nate. Those vibes again.
Nate, why are you not? Here, I'll put that.
I don't watch NFL. Like, I'm always excited to watch college
to
football.
How about
college
Dem
balls
Bears?
back?
I don't care.
That's a loaded question. Be
I
very
don't
careful.
I don't care about the NFL. Like I know. You're a Bears fan. Yeah, I know. I've known you for a while.
Easy.
I've known you for a while there, Steve.
Yeah, I'm aware. Let's get the Bears chair up here. Let's have Nate sit in that for a little while. No, I think
it means every Sunday I got to work at the store and nothing but NFL on. I'm like, oh dear God, I got to hear about this. And
he knows more about a lot of things going on because they do watch in the shop. And I'm like, I thought you didn't like football. He's like, yeah, I just know that this is doing that. And
I have
you play fantasy football? No, I still don't.
No, I don't. But I hear half the people coming in the shop talk about their goddamn fantasy leagues all the time. It's like, geez.
What would you rather talk
between
about?
Fantasy, between sports betting and football? It's like,
what would you rather talk about on Sundays?
I go to a cigar shop, smoke cigars, and relax.
No, you go there to work.
Well, try and relax while I'm doing that,
and then work.
There are certain people that stay there for 2-3 hours that make relaxing kind of difficult.
Hopefully they listen tonight. Hope to see you guys out on Sunday. I'll be in the shop with Nate.
Oh yeah,
this Sunday. I'm upset because I will be missing the first Bears game of the new dynasty that's going to be formed starting this Sunday in Chicago. This is, I'm not going to say, I would never say they're going to be better than the 85 Bears, but I would say that they will probably be, we're on our way, hopefully, to Super Bowl. It's plus 3,500 for the Bears to win the Super Bowl this year if anyone is interested in placing a bet. Or if you want to go to patreon.com and we can place a bet together. Ryan's like, I'm drinking to that one.
I'll switch on that one. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, I like you want to try the yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I know this is a little bit of a joke here, and we'll go to some other topics here. But Amy, how about them Bears? This is something that I've enjoyed doing watching the Bears, especially as I've gotten in my 30s, now 40s, is that growing up, I was big in the Bulls and I was big into the Bears when I was younger. But when the teams don't do as well, it's not as fun, right? But as I got older, this was a welcome distraction for me in my everyday life. Is that living here in Ohio, this was something that I could talk about favorably and also enjoy sitting around my family room with my dad and my brother and listen to them that were at that time way more involved in what was going on, and hearing them while the Bears may even be up in the score, debating whose fault it was that the Bears were playing the way they were playing that day. And those, like, family memories. And I would just look over and like, so they're up by 7. You know what I mean? But they would be going at each other, not like very loud, but like they'd be blaming Jay Cutler. They'd be blaming the defense. They'd be blaming the coach. And I'm like, guys, like it's
we're winning.
It's doing, yeah. But I think I've become more passionate about it because this is a welcome distraction for me. And you can say whether or not having distractions are good or bad for you. I think sometimes you listen to like the entrepreneur podcast and stuff like that, some of those shows, and they never turn it off. You know what I mean? And then you listen, I think, further to some people that are air quote successful doing some of the things, and they welcome some of these distractions. They're very much involved in that, because I think entertainment with this stuff is that you can't take life too seriously all the time, because I think it will drive you insane.
You missed a great opportunity to quote Ferris Bueller when we were just
life will
talking
come
about
at you fast.
If you take things too seriously, you'll never get out alive.
Then Twix song comes on.
What's that beat cut?
With your fancy little cut.
I like a Ray will bail out on the football talk. No,
I mean, I think it's,
I enjoy it.
I do too. I think it's something that, if you're into sports and you like football, it's something you look forward to every season. Like when the season's over, or that's when some of, the best memories are made, are at tailgates or going to the actual game or just having people over at the house. Like, it's a true season for me. It's what you look forward to. It's makes good memories.
Yeah, it can. I mean, I've got great memories from even this. How about them Bears? I mean, this is literally how I met my fiance.
That is true. Yeah,
it's literally how I met my fiance.
There you go.
And we're going to a game in a couple weeks in Indianapolis, week 3. We're going to go watch the Bears hopefully beat the Colts. And while we're there, we're meeting up with a customer that had been living here. They moved to Indianapolis. Not even a big Bears fan, but he was asking, are you still going to go? Now they moved there. I want to take my son to a football game. So now we're all sitting together.
That's awesome.
And then Tyler Jones, who's been on the show a lot, he lives in Indianapolis. He's going to be around. He's not going to it. So I told him the tickets are stupid. We're in section 6, whatever. It's like $300 a ticket. How's the economy?
The Caleb Williams effect? Is that what we're going to call
Let's
that?
talk about the economy next. Go fuck yourself. But no, it brings people together. It is something that you can talk about to a point. And it's funny, sometimes even sports, not necessarily to the level of like religion or politics, but I've heard some very heated sports discussions.
Oh yeah.
Very heated. Even
even times where
like my brother and my dad talking about whose fault it is on the Bears that they're winning.
Same team.
That you can hear people that talk about the same team, and they all like they're just blaming other people, and like they're not even playing today. Right. Like, what are we doing? Like the season hasn't started yet. What's that? It's a bye week. We live in Columbus. OSU played Akron.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they should have looked better. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, yeah, they're going to show off their best plays.
They still won by 50 points.
Yeah, it's fine. Everyone calm down. I remember there was one time that the Buckeyes opened up against Miami where I went, and we were watching in the shop, and I was wearing a Miami t-shirt just because were you there? But yeah. And Miami actually had a safety and a field goal. It was 5-0. And I remember looking back, and Tony Cephalou was avid, just great guy, avid Buckeye guy. and he normally yells at the TV, and at some point went 5-0. And he came up to me. He's like, "Do you guys really have that good of a team?" I was like, "No, no, absolutely not. We are a MAC team. We've gotten. This is really lucky." And I forget the final score, but I think we had only scored like at the end it was 5-2, like 84 or whatever it was. It was ridiculous. Like, relax.
No, like I like watching college football, even though with my job now I work on Saturdays and we don't have a TV in the wine shop. Otherwise it'd be a sports bar and we'd have people there for 2-3 hours, and you don't want that. You want to churn and burn. People coming in doing wine tastings, especially on Saturdays. That's one of the busier days for it. So I don't get to watch a whole lot of it, but like, you know, like I don't care about the NFL. I don't even care as much about college football as I used to. I stopped. Like I've never been that kind of person where my personality during the fall has been based on who I root for on the field. Like I've never been that kind of guy. I have teams that I like, that I root for. I want to see them win. Like I want to see them do good. If they lose, it's like, well, all right. That it is what it is. It honestly has no bearing on my life whatsoever. But there are some people that if their team loses, it's like, oh my gosh, they're distraught.
Columbus
for the whole
shuts down.
Yeah, Columbus shuts down. Like if Ohio State loses a game, all the fans are like, well, that's it. Season's over. If an NFL team loses one game, it's like, well, we got next week.
So
because
depends who your NFL team is. But it's funny. Like now I'm working in the cigar industry, working in a shop, and I work Saturdays, like based on OSU's schedule. When the game is, what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if it's an afternoon game, we're not busy until maybe later if people are drunk for coming in and getting cigars. If it's a late game, we may or may not have regulars in. If they lose, like, we won't see people till Wednesday. Yeah. Like, that's just the way it works around there.
So last year, my first year at Carfagna's, the slowest, deadest times in the wine and liquor department, especially for wine tastings, was whenever OSU was playing.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be at home or they're going to be at a sports bar. Like we have a bar and restaurant, but we're not a sports bar. So people don't come there to watch OSU. There's a few people that do, but it's not like going to B-Dubs or Double Barrel or whatever. It's a different feel. And so I kept telling, because I always get asked, because, we've got so many people in our wine club. It's busy almost every single night. So we get members that, they don't like waiting. They don't like having a crowded wine bar. So like, when's the best time to come? And so for the last year, I've been telling people, best time to come is on a Saturday during an OSU game. That's the best time to come.
My mom goes grocery shopping.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I used to work at a Kroger on Saturdays, and it was dead in the store. And that was the best time to come do your shopping. You had the whole store to yourself. So like I'd been telling people that. So half hour before OSU kicked off, like the store was empty. Like there was no one there. 10 minutes after the game started, all of a sudden our wine bar was completely full.
Yeah, it happens, right?
And I'm like, I don't know if it's because we're playing Akron or if it's because people are like, I don't care about football, but they said this is the great time to come. So let's go do wine tasting then.
A little bit of both. All right. Another topic here. And it's interesting. I'm happy that we're getting audience participation, because I had something with the say something thing, but I like to hear from the audience on this. I do want to put up Amy from Watershed here. That's why sharing a pour and a cigar should be unifying, not dividing. There's something for everyone, regardless of party or any other affiliation.
I think
I would say with cigars, it's a little bit easier, because unless they are drinking while smoking cigars, there's a little less of passion behind it. You start throwing whiskey in there, after a while, there's going to be a lot of passion.
That's why we don't allow outside bottles at Tinder Box at Easton.
That's right.
Go next door to the pub, let them deal with it. But no, how many times have we talked about it where, we've been in the shop and we've had a group, back when we used to have 6 chairs in the back, like you'd have 6 guys sitting back there smoking cigars. 5 of them are on one side of an issue, one guy's on the other side of the issue. They all banter and argue back and forth. And then, the one guy who feels left out is like, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And then the next day, that person's back, or the next weekend, they're all right back at it. It's still that community. It's like, we can have our differences, but I can sit there and still smoke a cigar and hang out with you. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hate you to that so much. I'm going to go find another shop. Although there are some of those.
So Ray, no,
we're not.
No, hang on. All right, hang on. He brings up, and Ray, I want to know what you're experiencing when you lived in Hong Kong, what you are experiencing now in Vietnam. He's asking a whiskey question here, I assume, or just state liquor controls, good or bad. I'm curious what he has where he is in Vietnam. I'm curious, this is something that, and I can immediately take it to political things and political talk about price control, but it's truly price control when it comes to liquor here in the state. And I'm not going to necessarily take it to the national political side of things right now with the talk of what's going on with going into the debate. But it's interesting because, Ryan, with your position, right? Nate, you're a hybrid, right? You work in the liquor and wine side of things and the cigar side of things. I'm cigar side of things, and we have a state tobacco tax in different levels, cigars included, with a cap there. But I think with this, state liquor control is good or bad. What do you think, Ryan?
Very polarizing topic, I think, with some. But my personal opinion,
I love having this debate with customers.
So
I think,
but it can be like, again, this is something that we deal with and we talk about on the whiskey and liquor front. Bless you.
Yeah.
But this is something that the supply and demand. I'll frame this conversation. Part of it is the supply and demand of certain products in Ohio. It acts differently than it does in other states.
Yeah.
And when it does come up, and I'm not going to necessarily push this part of it, but when there is talks of controlling prices to help the consumers, how it affects all of that stuff, and let's focus on the spirit world.
Yeah. I think it comes down to how well your state controlled agency gets those products. So I think if you're a state that's controlled, that doesn't get a lot of allocated stuff, you're going to hate it because you never get anything. If you're a state like Ohio, where OHLQ does a great job of bringing more and more allocated stuff into the state that's more available, I don't mind it. I'm not one that I think the secondary market is completely toxic. I will never, ever pay a secondary price for a bottle. I don't care what it is.
I'm going to try this here.
I'll never pay a secondary price. So to see OHLQ bringing in more allocated things, like, to me, you're seeing more Weller than you ever have, arguably in 2024 than you ever have. So I think that's a good sign that,
is that them or is it the distillery?
That's a good question. I don't know enough on that on OHLQ side, but
I think it's more than just OHLQ.
But just from
they're distributing to the world.
Just me personally, when I go to the liquor store on a Saturday or a Friday and I see 4 cases of Weller Green on the floor, 2 cases of Weller Red, that's reassuring.
Because
you didn't used to see that.
Drying up.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
secondary market's drying up
with those products.
I
just had a conversation with a customer of mine before I left the shop today, and it was Saturday. He was telling me that right over here in New Albany, there was at the Meijer. The first person in line was there at 4:30 a.m. because they thought there was going to be a bourbon drop. No, not the Meijer. Yeah, it was Meijer. He was like 5th in line. He got there 6:45, so 6:45. Store opens at 9. They're sitting out there. They brought chairs. They're sitting outside. Now lines forming, and because a lot of the places are releasing the drops at on Saturdays. They walk in the store when the store opens. I'm sorry, at like 7 or 8 o'clock. The liquor store opens at 9. Liquor store has a sign that says no drop today. Now everyone's pissed off. He got there at 6:45. He goes to the liquor store right down the street between there and his house, 1837. And so now it's 9 o'clock, I think. That store doesn't open until 11.
Oh, wow.
So now he's sitting there until 11 and gets a stag because he's 5th in line. He asked me the question. He's like, "What? Like, who are you? Like, who do you feel bad for? The people that were in line at the Meyer?" I said, "No. You're sitting out there waiting for a bottle of bourbon that you may or may not flip. There's a shortage of a luxury product because when it comes down to it, there's plenty of whiskey in there, plenty of liquor in there. If you're going in there to get absolutely fucking blitzed, then you'll find something. But the fact you didn't find an allocated bottle, that is something that I think that there's a lot of positives to the liquor controls to it because it keeps the price down. The issue is that, and Nate, I'm curious what you have to say about this, is that I do look at the bigger picture that you control that in a positive way, that you keep the prices down. Now, based on what Ryan even said, now there's a secondary market for it. And I want to go in there and buy a bottle of, say if there's a secondary for Watershed, right? The bottle and bond. I want to go in there on a random Wednesday to just, you know what, I feel like a Watershed bottle and bond. It's not there. It's, you want to talk about the topic, say something? That's the same exact thing when you control the prices of everything else, is that when people of other areas can't find it and you can make money off of it, now all of a sudden I want to go in and get a fucking carton of eggs. You had to line up at fucking 4:30 in the morning. Ray, you want to talk about this? That's what's happening. But with this, it's a luxury product. When we were in Cuba, literally, what do you want for breakfast as Airbnb? We were treated like gold. And literally, it was like, I'll take some eggs. And it's like, I have 4 eggs. There's 4 of you. I can only give you 1 egg. Absolutely fine. They went to 3 different markets for 4 eggs. Same thing. If I want Weller, or whatever it is, like that person that was there at 4:30 didn't get shit, but then they went to another store, and hopefully they got 1 bottle that they may be able to either enjoy or they might be able to sell on the black market. Is that where you wanted to go, Ray? Feel good about yourself? Nate, what do you think, man?
So
I think it's good because it controls prices on bourbon. So eventually when the secondary market dries up, I can get a bottle of Eagle Rare for $40.
Yeah. Having worked in the industry now for what I have a greater appreciation for a control state like Ohio. Because, I mean, Steve, 3 years ago, you and I went down to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And we saw bottles that in the state of Ohio would run you between $40 and $50. Some of those bottles were $100, $150, $400 collecting dust on shelves. And so I get people, if you've been a bourbon guy in Ohio for the last 4 years even, and you don't realize that a lot of stores release their stuff on Saturdays and you show up on a Thursday asking for those allocated items, it's like they're not here. And like, I never can get them. It's like, well, and I always tell people, like, well, you've got a few options. You can either come here on a Saturday morning, and depending on what we're having, will dictate what time that line starts forming. With what we had this weekend, the first person was in line at 5 o'clock, and we opened at 10. They were in line at 5 o'clock.
Look at the human behavior behind that.
Like you can either come and you can wait in line for like 4 or 5 hours to try and get that product, and immediately they're like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay. Or you can go down to the distillery, which is about a 4-hour drive, wait a couple hours in line, and hope that that bottle is what's being released that day, and then make a 4-hour drive back. So it's going to cost you about 10 hours time. Like, I don't want to do that either. I'm like, well, a third option is you can go someplace else and, for that particular bottle you're looking for, you can pay $200 for it. I don't want to pay $200 for it. I'm like,
I don't have $200. How about that answer?
I'm like, well, then your last option is find something else that's sitting on the shelf.
So that's the beauty of it, right? So that's like, you ask why, you never ask, like, why do you want it, right? That's a big part of it. It's like, why do you want
motive.
blends?
If you want it because you're going to drink it, then you're going to find a way to go get it and drink it. If you want it because you want to flip it, you're not going to go buy it on secondary and then try and flip on secondary, because you're going to have no margin on it.
You're going to show up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, you're going to. Yeah, exactly. Now,
only going back to the gun control topic here and the shootings. No, real quick, walk through this with me.
Okay.
If only they made laws that it was illegal in the state of Ohio to sell a bottle secondary, this could solve the problem that people are not lining up in lines to do that. And I'll go to Ann or anyone else listening. Is it illegal to or not illegal to sell a bottle for more than you bought it for?
So
Am I wrong? I hope I'm wrong.
So we actually have people that come in our line that we know they're doing this as like a side hustle.
Is there a law?
Yeah, you can. So it's the same thing.
Right.
It's actually
100%.
the same thing with guns. So you can't buy and sell stuff for profit as a form of additional income. You can sell out of a collection, but you can't go around buying things because
Can you sell for more than you bought it for?
So it depends.
That's a gray area right there.
Well, there has to be a pattern of it. So like if I sit there and out of my collection,
That's a terrible way of doing it.
Hold on. If out of my whiskey collection, I sell a bottle that I bought for $40 and I sell it for $80, because I have no history of doing that, no one's going to care. But if every single day or every single week I'm going out and buying stuff for the purpose of selling it for profit, I don't have a license to be able to do that. So that's entirely illegal. If I was selling some other possessions out of my house that I have as a collection because, hey, we're falling on rough times, need to be able to make my rent payment, I need to sell something that I bought years
Get that
ago.
completely.
I'm allowed to do that.
So Ann says you can donate, totally legal.
That for liquor, yes. I'm talking about something else.
Yeah, you can sell I can sell a fridge.
If I have another possession in my house that is a regulated item in this country, and all of a sudden, like, I'm having a hard time making rent, and I bought this thing for $200 and I sell it for $400, absolutely, perfectly, 100% legal.
I'd like to review those laws because that doesn't make any sense.
If I'm going to stores and buying something for $200 every single day and turn around and selling it for $300 every single day, now I'm a seller using it as a form of.
You'd have to have quantities in there. Like, you can't just write a law like that. You have to have it like where it's like you do it this many times, right? We've got to quantify that.
Yep. And that's happened. There have been people that have gotten busted on that particular thing that I'm talking about. You can't do it. You don't have a license to be able to do it. You have to have a license to be able to do that. And if you don't, they will absolutely come at you and they will drop the book on you.
Always illegal to push the secondary market. We wouldn't have this problem. What else do you guys want to talk about while we're here?
Well, to still the control state thing.
Sure.
I've also learned that because people want to sit there and argue about the prices of certain products. The one thing I have learned that I did not realize before I worked in the industry, that the price has more to do with what the distributor is charging the state than what the state sets the price at, because the state sets the price based on percentages and categories. They don't necessarily sit there and go, this particular bottle in this category is more sought after, so we're going to charge a higher percentage based off what we paid for it. The state just sits there and goes, okay, we're going to make X percent on this product. This product's in the same category. We're going to make the exact same percentage. That's the way it works. They don't sit there and go, this bottle's more popular, so we're going to up the percentage. The price is based more on what the distributor is charging, because the distributor buys it from the manufacturer.
Until the government of the state takes control and says the secondary is charging this, we will now charge this. That is price control. That's what's happening right there. Luckily, the state of Ohio has not done that, and I appreciate that the state-controlled prices are low enough that there's a secondary market that the people that are in the state of Ohio can line up at 4:30 in the morning, buy these bottles, and then they can get on the pages they sell it at and make money off of it. If the state, then it drives prices up. Yeah. That's the issue. Luckily, the state of Ohio, for the most part, has not really taken the bait on that, and I can appreciate that. We saw that with like a Henry McKenna. We saw it when it was $20-some, then all of a sudden it hit some awards. Now it's sought after as a 10-year bourbon, and all of a sudden it's selling on the secondary market for at least twice the value. Mm-hmm. It goes from $20-some to $50 overnight, and you still can't find it. When was the last time you saw Henry McKenna on the shelf?
Like on the shelf, or
not where you work that you stock the shelf, but like when you just walked into a store and Henry McKenna's sitting right there.
It's been
a while.
But
I'm just saying that's it.
There are some things now that last year, my first year in the industry, there are some items that were allocated that now are just regular on the shelf. We can order it. You can buy as much.
And God help the distilleries that have put so much money, billions of dollars that we've heard from like Willett and from Weller or from Sazerac and all that stuff. They put all that stuff out there, and as soon as people can't make money off of it, they stop buying it because they can't make money off of it. Now all of a sudden the supply and demand is completely fucked. And now guys like me, I'm like, let's go, Eagle Rare.
Yeah. Well,
let's go. Like, like I can just walk in and buy, whatever, like Weller Full Proof, like it's sitting right next to Jameson or Woodford or Jack Daniels or whatever. Yeah. And now it's up to the businesses that manufacture this stuff is to manage this type of workload.
Yeah. So there was one particular product that I remember reaching out to someone in OHLQ because this year the price on it is one price. Last year when I got it, it was a different price. And so I'd actually asked my friend at OHLQ, I was like, so like, what's the deal with this price increase? And they said, well, the distributor's charging more because they think with what's going on, they can get more money for it. So the distributor's charging the state of Ohio more money for that product. The state has the exact same percentage markup as they did last year. Yep. It's just the distributor's charging them more. Mm-hmm. So to your point, to your point with Henry McKenna, yes, 5 years ago, Henry McKenna was
there's no blame here.
$27, $28. Now it's $65.
I'm not blaming the distillery or the state or anything else. I'm like even Watershed, the same thing. If you guys had a national hit and you literally had to drive, like, so if this fall finishing series of the port finish one was something that was like, holy shit, man, this is $79.99. I got a case of it. I'll sell it to you for $250. Mm-hmm. This bottle, and there was that much demand. Now it's this whole new business dynamic there.
Yeah.
Right. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's all gone. Like, do we make more? You guys make more, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it dried up. Now you're sitting on it. I mean, there's a lot of factors to it.
Yeah.
I think the say something thing. No, good comments from everyone out there. The say something thing is that I think there's a level of tact, and there's also a level of where do you guys draw the line of if you feel like you want to say something, the saying of biting your tongue. Why do you do it? When do you do it? And when do you not do that? And you say something. I'll give a quick example of what I was saying. This is not a big picture topic, but like what has been going on. I had someone buy the house between my neighbor and I, right? So it's next door, and it was an LLC. They bought the house. They had workers live there and fix it up. It was a stress on a lot of people in the cul-de-sac, just the dynamic of cars coming and going, all this stuff, and
trash.
And I'm not going to go into a bigger political thing on this one. I guarantee this, but it's something that where we dealt with it. Then all of a sudden, more people, like, they left. They new people moved in. Finally, had to track down this. Enough's enough. What's happening right now? I had to track down online who the LLC that bought it. Then what's tied into the LLC, which is all through Google searches. It's not really dialed in. And then I called them, talked to someone there. They were nice enough to put me in touch with someone that actually is the landlord next door. And they have been receptive to a point, but I had to actually go through all of those steps just to say something, as opposed to just sit here and take it and just be like, there's trash. The grass is being mowed. There's people parking with their tires in my lawn. There's all these things going on that it's like, where do you guys draw the line on everyday life? Same thing with, like, you know, personal relationships, you know, like, Ryan, you got married this summer.
Mm-hmm.
You would have never gotten married unless you said something. These are those life daily type of topics that I feel like are very pertinent to saying something. It's not just like the big topics that we're talking about today. This is the reason I actually put this topic out there, is what pushes you to actually say something in a situation versus not saying something because you feel as though it's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just depends on how much you let things affect your personal life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you were saying, like, if people are parking in my yard and tearing up my yard and there's tire tracks all over the place, yeah, I'm going to say something.
Not happy.
You know, if it's the occasional, like, noisy neighbor having a party, like, okay, let it slide a time or two. But I think it just depends on, you know, how's it affecting your personal life? Is it something that you can let slide? Like, is it really that big of a deal? Or is it something like, okay, this is impeding on, you know, my day-to-day living. I need to say something. So I think it's all up to, you know, whatever that line is for you, find it and then decide if you're gonna, you know, cross that line or not.
And how do you handle it if you do?
I've always been taught kill it with kindness. You know, I mean, personal experience, situations that I've been in, it's always easier to handle confrontation with kindness than it is to be aggressive about situations. I think that's pretty standard when dealing with conflict in general. Just stay level-headed, you know, kill it with kindness, talk about the issues, talk about the situation, and come up with solutions.
You reminded me of a scene from a great film by the title of Roadhouse.
Be nice.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
What did you think of the remake or the new one?
Terrible.
It's, you know, the worst part is
terrible
to eat butter flavored topping popcorn because it was a popcorn flick, man. Terrible, sort of.
It was entertaining. It was entertaining.
I like some dumb like, you know, video. You know,
it was entertaining.
Viewing.
The cinematography, I think, was shit.
They did a good fight thing, though. You know what I mean? Like, where, like, they did, like, as you hit, like, it turned the camera. It was cool.
I think some of the characters were poorly written. I think there were certain people in that movie that, given their abilities, could have done better. But
all right. Let me really quickly comment on that before we stick to what you want to say, Nate. The original Roadhouse was absolutely a terrible 80s movie that is a cult classic. So to remake a movie that some of the lines were "pain don't hurt," and
no one ever
calling me sir is like putting an elevator in an outhouse. It was a decently accurate remake because the first one was trash. We just all love it. He ripped his larynx out to kill a guy twice. We only saw the second time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just awesome. Come on.
All right. So
Patrick Swayze's was a badass.
I understand.
unless you watch them in Donnie Darko, then not so much.
I like how you're defending it, but
Fair
I think
point.
my point is spot on. That you remade a bad 80s movie that we all love, and you made it as a bad 80s movie, and everyone's like, that was shit, man. I'm like, did you watch the first one sober recently?
Yes.
A bear fell on the fat guy that was supposed to be part of the badass crew.
Polar bear fell on me.
Yeah, right? They drove around Bigfoot. Nate, go ahead with
So
handling confrontation. I think is really what it was.
yeah. So
You can speak in Dalton terms if you want to. I didn't try to take
no.
it away from you.
So when I'm at work, and people start asking me questions about certain things, initially, my approach is to educate the customer. Now, based on how that customer reacts to that, will then determine which direction I go. If there's someone that I feel is receptive and wants to learn more about why things are the way they are, why things work the way they do, I will give them as much information as I'm allowed to give them or that I have. If the person wants to come across like a pompous ass, then I'll just, all right, I won't necessarily continue in the engagement and create a conflict back and forth. It's more like, all right, I understand how you feel. Like that's just the way things are. But I get it. If you want to drive all the way to Kentucky and pay $800 for $100 bottle, by all means, you got more sense than sense. But I always try and engage it, and that's actually something that I've kind of learned from Brian, the owner of the Tinder Box. I've seen him engage with customers because Brian's been doing this for a long time. He's
25 years.
Well, he's owned the Tinder Box for 25 years, but he even worked in the tobacco industry even a little bit before that.
Sure, yeah.
He's
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so
he was also a personal trainer. He's been in the customer service side of things for a long time too.
So he will engage with customers, and if that customer is receptive and continues that dialogue and shows an appreciation for the knowledge, then he'll sit there and just give that customer whatever they want to know. But if that customer comes across like, I know more than you, then he'll just like, all right, what can I do to get you to buy something and get out? Because you realize that there are some people that you can only go so far with. And sometimes I don't know why we're doing fireworks now in the background. And
Happy Labor Day to everyone out there. Hope you guys enjoyed
but like you're
it.
only gonna get so far with certain people. Some people you can't change their mind about certain things. They have their mind set in a certain way. You can offer up some insight and some information, but if they're not willing and receptive and appreciative of that, and they still want to act like they know more than you, like I've seen them sit there and someone say something that was blatantly wrong in the store, and he didn't say anything else, because every time that customer said something, it was coming across from that point of authority and that high horse, and he just wasn't going to engage because it wasn't worth it.
You're talking about Brian still,
yeah. There's no benefit. If I could sit there and get into a debate with a customer about control states or about inventory available and allocated items, like if a customer truly wants to understand like what's allocated, what does that mean, I'll sit there and I'll give them information from a point of education in order to help the customer. But if that customer just it's like, no, this is all bullshit, and I'll sit, this is stupid. I'll pay $1,000 for that $50 bottle. It's like, I can't help you. You're not my kind of customer. Like if you don't want to actually understand how things are, and you just want to bitch about the way things are, this isn't going to be a back and forth dialogue.
Interesting you say that.
So, you have your opinion. No one's going to change your mind whatsoever, no matter what information they try and give you. So I'm not going to waste my time or yours, because I got other customers that perhaps want to know stuff or want to ask questions, and they want to find something. So like, cool, you're looking for 5 products. This person's open to every single product I have on the shelf. That's the customer that's more willing to learn and try new things is the more valuable customer for me.
I started the conversation about this part of it, about the neighbor and all that stuff, right? And as it tends to do on this show, is that we start talking about work and spirits and all that stuff.
But that's how we connected to.
I agree completely. It's interesting. You said you learned a lot from Brian and everything, because I have a lot of people in the cigar industry, and Columbus has, he's trained a lot of people actually that worked for him that went elsewhere. Asking questions is huge.
It shows
so
huge. It shows
interest,
dude. Interest and curiosity and a willingness to engage.
And you can't always get around whatever this issue that the person walked in with, right? You can't change their morning. You can't change that it's been a tough weekend. You can't change that it's fall. You can't change they have allergies. You can't change the fact that it's just a bad day. You know what I mean? They stubbed their toe this morning for shit's sake. I mean, it's you ask questions, and if they're still just being a prick, it's funny that we joked about like Roadhouse. You know what I mean? Be nice. What if they're mean to me? Like, be nice. You do all that stuff, and it's like, especially when it's your job, you can't take it personally. You just do it the best you can. Brian owns the shop, so like if you're the owner of the business, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean? You can take it personally. You can do whatever you want. I mean, that's fine. But sometimes when you have the attitude, I've heard that statement, you can't fix stupid. I mean, you can't walk into the situation with that attitude of you can't fix stupid, because now you're looking for stupid. And if they disagree with you, you're like, well, you're fucking stupid. You know what I mean? But if you ask questions, you ask, what you're looking for, you ask, I had to bring it back to the situation with the landlord of the house next door. He actually, after I had sent him some messages and pictures, he asked if I wanted to meet. And I said, that it's not a problem. We met, we stand out front. And I was like, I don't know. I can't tell you what to do with your property here, but like from what I see and what the neighbors see is that, they're ruining your investment. And he was open at that point. He said, no, I have 7 workers living in there that are working on their projects for me. I said, that's fine. As long as, they take care of your property and everything else. I can't tell you who you want to put in there. I said, but I'm pretty sure you can make some money off this property. What are you looking to do with this? And he's like, well, yeah, I want to be an investment property. And I was like, well, they did a good job fixing it up. But I was like, but at the same time, now it's like, they're parking in your grass. They're parking in my grass. There's trash everywhere. They're not really understanding what's going on. Now I had to talk to another group of people about not parking in my grass, which I just finished doing. If I wanted to sell my house, now I gotta what's going on next door.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin lives in the neighborhood. I host people on my back patio, and it's like there's trash, there's bikes back there, there's there's grass overgrowing, and I'm like, I'm not going to talk to them because they clearly don't care, but I know that you live here, so like, what are you doing? I said, the people behind me, they actually moved to Texas. They're renting the house out. He says, oh. He's like, yeah, I'm looking around. This is actually it's a family neighborhood, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah. So the fact that he came here and he's like, what do you think I could get for renting this house out? And I'm like, I tell you what, I can find out. It was having that conversation. The fact that I brought it up, right? Talk about asking questions. It's like sometimes when you start asking the first question, now all of a sudden questions are flowing towards you. Now you gotta be able to you have to be able to hold your end of the conversation, because sometimes if you go in there with a certain objective as a salesperson, or you're trying to go into a conversation with a friend or a significant other, and you're trying to prove your point, and all you have is these, these loose bullet points that you have
to be willing to be questioned.
You have to listen, because if you can't, like, if you're going in just fucking guns a-blazing, if I would have walked out here and been like, look, man,
get the fuck off my lawn.
What the fuck is happening with this shit? Not going to go well.
No.
Could have. I mean, maybe. I don't know. He also rode his like motorcycle up here, and I was like, I don't know if he's trying to like pay, power move. He's a lawyer. Like, that's after my research. Went out there and just talked to him as a dude, man. Just talk to him as a person. I think that when you finally figure out what your breaking point or what your threshold is, what you were saying, Ryan, of I need to say something, because I can't just sit on this. Can't sleep at night anymore. This is eating away at me. Whether it's my situation, whether it's your significant other, whether it's your employer or your coworker, some point, it's saying something doesn't necessarily mean customers coming in. It's not like I gotta sell you something. It's like, what do you want to buy today? It's all about changing that frame of the conversation. You came into my store today. What are we looking for? What are we doing here? Why are you here? You don't say it like that, because you're like, customer walks in like, why the fuck are you here?
Yeah.
But you gotta have a little tact. You have to be able to talk about it. But if you go into a conversation, I gotta sell you this thing. I love that thing in Wolf of Wall Street.
Sell me this pen.
Yeah. I actually heard that obviously through sales training before that, but it's one of those things that it's like, that is something. If you're just trying to just ram it down their fucking throat, it's going to turn most people off. You're not listening to them. You're just like, I heard that as when someone walks into a cell phone store, sell me this iPhone, sell me this, whatever it is. And if you don't ask, if you just say like, oh, this is this new iPhone, this has got a great camera, this is all this stuff and all that stuff. Or do you say, what do you use a cell phone for?
Yeah.
So I take pictures. I text a lot. I surf the web. I do all that stuff. Fantastic. Those are the most important things.
I mean, find the product best suited for that.
Tell you what, you're an iPhone user, which I am. I'm not gonna I would sell you an iPhone. Absolutely. Fuck you. Like, you want a Samsung, get the fuck out of my store. But I look at it all.
Steve's hard line. iPhone.
It's your
Apple.
fault. It's your fault.
Oh,
All right, Steve Jobs.
Steve,
rolling in his grave.
Steve is one of the guys at the shop that used to give me shit because I was the green bubble.
Do you have an iPhone yet?
Yes.
Goddamn right you do. And that's where I will draw my remarks.
No, I even had an iPhone back when I was still a green bubble, but it was the whole.
Yeah, you didn't have the data plan.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. No, I just thought that going into it is conversational skills. When you want to say something, you let stuff fester enough that you are just brewing, like you are over the top and you are just ready to go. It's not too late, but it's almost too late. You know what I mean? You really have to go into it. It's like, what do I want to accomplish through this conversation? I think that when things bother you enough, that I am of the belief that you need to express what is on your mind. And it's not always negative, but it's just like a lot of times it is. When I say something, I love the topics tonight, that people brought up and stuff like that. And I know that you can go all across the board. Your personal relationships, you want to say something, it's like, don't try to win the conversation. Just be genuine. Go into it that you want to be happy. You want to express your feelings on that. You go all the way to the other side where Ray was asking about state liquor control stuff. If you have a problem with that, start going down the normal venues that you have, and you can express your opinions. Not saying they're going to be listened to, but it's like, you don't have to necessarily protest the state liquor agency, OHLQ, but you can at least reach out to them and be like, hey, this is Like, can you answer this question for me? Right? But
I kinda-
most people don't.
I kind of had that come up Friday. So last Friday. So because of the holiday, like I said, we got our delivery on Thursday. Normally we get it on Friday, but regardless of when we get our delivery, all of our quote unquote allocated, Ray, I can explain to you later, it goes out on Saturdays. And the OHLQ website had already updated after we had received our delivery as to what we had. And so there are a lot of people out there, a lot of the chasers out there that will search OHLQ's website for certain products. And, a lot of people want to critique the website for being off. I'm like, you guys don't realize how accurate that thing is sometimes. And so like that person came in looking for a certain product. I'm like, yeah, it's an allocated item. It goes out on Saturday. It's like, oh, well, the website shows you have it. I'm like, well, we don't.
Turns out.
So I was like, we don't. And he's like, huh, maybe I should contact them to complain about that. And I'm like, you probably
not what I meant.
And I went, you probably shouldn't. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, so like I said, allocated goes out on Saturday. So if we have it, it's not available for purchase until then. Well, that doesn't seem legal, is what he said back to me. I'm like, well, it's completely legal and it's part of our agreement with the state. So, like, you complaining is not going to get you anywhere. I feel like you should have
just pulled up at that point and just been like,
it's like,
yeah, I
am not allowed to sell this product until 10 a.m. on Saturday. Whether the state's website says we have it or not, I can't sell this particular product until Saturday. So if you want to come back on Saturday, you're more than welcome to. But you complaining to the state's not going to get you anywhere because the state puts it on the website. Yes, we have it, but I can't sell it to you until then. And that's the rules. It's just the way it is. Like, you don't like it, move someplace else.
Brian, do you have any thoughts on say something?
Topic? Just kind of what I'm hearing from both of you. I'm going to summarize it as kind of managing emotions.
We closing remarks right now. I got to change the banner. Jesus, you just like rolled right into it, taking control of this podcast.
Vibes, man, vibes. Yeah, managing emotions. It's kind of going off what your say something topic, Steve. It's really easy to comment on negativity and things that bother you. It's a lot harder to comment on positivity, things that people are doing well.
Well, Yelp reviews are like, what I mean? The ones that leave those long.
Right. That's a great example. Anything you see a review online, 99% of them are going to be negative.
And the ones that are positive, they're like, they were paid for that.
Exactly. Exactly. It comes down to managing emotions and just being positive and, appreciating the good things in life. And yeah, that's all I got. Just be appreciative. It's a lot. It's very easy to be negative. Like, just be positive.
Well, you have to be willing to have a conversation.
Exactly. Yes.
And if you're on the other side, you have to, whichever side you're on, you have to be willing to have a conversation about it. You can't just sit there because, we've seen this at the cigar shop as well. You have people that sit there and want to spout out their opinion on something. And, I'll sit there and go, you know what? I'm not going to engage with this person because otherwise it's just going to turn into a shouting match back and forth. There's no education. It's just, you have your beliefs. I have my beliefs. Let's leave it at that and go on our merry way. Let's find something else to talk
about. How about them Bears?
How about them Bears?
I couldn't tell you anything about the Bears.
You should learn so you can use it on Sundays in the shop.
We don't get a lot of Bears fans in there.
Browns fans?
We get a lot of Browns fans.
There you go. Dog pound, baby.
But
how
then
do you feel about Deshaun Watson?
Man, this whiskey is really good.
Thank you. That's a good point, Ryan.
Worst contract in the history of football, and I'm not even a Browns fan.
Most of those allegations probably not true. Go ahead, Nate. This whiskey is good. You're right, Ryan. That's a great whiskey.
If you get
You've done good.
If you get to the point where you close yourself off from any outside opinion, then that's the moment you stop learning about anything else.
Ooh, I like that.
Because at that point, you only care about your opinion and the other people that share your opinion. And I think that's one of the issues.
Echo chamber.
Steve, you talked about this a multitude of times over the last 4 years.
It's good or bad? Where are we going with this?
Yeah. Where like
whiskey there,
you have to be,
brother,
yeah,
anytime.
absolutely.
Like there are some people that spend all their time listening to their own echo chambers,
Right?
And they never want to hear the opinion of someone else who thinks otherwise. Also, like you've talked about it, where when it comes, like if you sat there and like if you pulled up a list of like what's the 10 most, you know, hot button topics politically.
Trump.
No.
Harris. Abortion.
But you're gonna
How
sit.
many?
I said top 10.
Oh,
You're
geez.
gonna.
All right.
But,
let me.
no, hold on. Hold the.
Uh,
But no, with you, Steve, you're gonna sit there and go, okay, with this topic, I'm on this side.
absolutely.
With this topic, I'm on this side, and you'll sit there and you can go down the list. And you have so many topics where you agree more on one side, and you have some topics where you agree on the other side. And then you sit there, because you've said it before. So who do I vote for?
Yeah.
Like there are some things that you agree with one side, there are some things you agree with the other side. So where's your candidate? Is how you phrased it in the past.
No, that's right. Yeah.
And so it's one of those where like you have to be willing to have a conversation about both sides.
Pandemic has chosen violence. It's just vaccination. Yeah, no. For what? And wanna
The flu.
against it. I took a flu vaccination and got COVID 2 weeks later.
But no, like I said, the moment you stop being open and receptive to having a dialogue,
Right.
like at that point, just I mean, like, why are you even engaging with anybody else?
What are you getting out of it, right?
Just, like there's no
What's the
there's no
point?
difference between you staying at home and staying in your little isolated bubble versus going outside and getting in arguments with other people. You're gonna communicate with the people that you do agree with, and you're gonna shun everybody else. So
Really?
what's the benefit?
Choosing violence.
Like there's no benefit to you whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to learn anything additionally. You're so set in your mind one side or the other. You've got your mind made up. So what's the point in engaging in a dialogue? All you're doing is intentionally trolling that other side to try and piss them off and get into an argument. And at that point, you have more to lose than you have more to gain. Because if you come across from an argumentative standpoint, you're going to lose that person either as a friend or a colleague or just someone to hang out and talk to. And that person's going to sit, like, if that person and you ever meet up again at that same place and they see you coming, they're like, well, that person's here. Time for me to go. I know I've seen that.
There's a lot of people that would be like, time for me to like get my, claws in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that. We've seen that a lot. I mean, we've had customers leave the store because other customers came there and made that person feel uncomfortable. They were just a little off-putting, a little weird. And they're like, yeah, nope, not coming back there. And it's like, well, hey guys, that person's gone. Well, yeah, I found someplace else. Like, really? You're going to make your bed based on that? There's 1,000 customers that come in here and you're going to.
Yeah, there's a difference in opinion and just being fucking awkward, right? Like there's a big difference there. For me, saying something, the topic tonight, whether it be, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Personally, I'll start with that is if I know that it's absolutely altering my functionality, if I can't just roll with it and think that my friend, my customer, my significant other, and those are all different levels, obviously, they're having a bad day. I am the stereotypical male, I think, and a lot of people are like that, male and female, but they want to fix it, right? They don't like to have someone that's important to them struggling or being in a bad mood. So you got to navigate how you handle that. But there have been times in my life, in my past, and I think a lot of people have also dealt with that is that they turtle up when they are dealt with confrontation because they don't want to add fuel to the fire. They don't want to add to the confrontation. They don't want to say something that might jeopardize the way the other person is feeling. I feel as though that I've gotten to the point where no matter what the venue is, and again, different levels of that is, I want to be able to, if I can see this is affecting my side, I already feel as though maybe I'm taking it personally that it's affecting your side. I'm going to say something. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be defensive, which is more common, in my opinion. I think it needs to be a conversation. Don't just let it die and treat it with silence, because typically giving someone space is better if you say you're part of it and let's talk about this later. It's volunteering yourself to continue to say something and include them into saying something. If you just let it die out, you're fucked. Because if you bottle it up, they're going to be mad and they're going to be bottling it up as well. And I feel as though you will be not adding any value to this situation, relationship, what's going on here. You need to be able to say something because you're standing up for yourself in that situation. You're not trying to win. You're not trying to make yourself more valuable than the other party. You're just saying, let's talk about this. Nate, you were saying you got to communicate. You're able to do that. You hope the other person's able to do that. And you're hoping that you let them know that you value their opinion or their feelings as much as you want to be valued, right? Golden rule there. But I do think that the biggest step of saying something is knowing what your threshold is. And it's not just shooting off the hip. It's not just rattling it off. I think a lot of times it's like, what actually matters to me? And does this person matter to me? And that's where you find your guide to, do I say something? And then you don't just say something. You actually say, like, all right, so what do I say? How do I say it? What do I want out of this? And all that stuff. And then you have an honest conversation. You start asking questions. I think it's so important to ask questions, because more often than not, I feel like people, when they want to say something, they're talking and they're not listening. And I feel as though that when you ask questions without the game of trying to put someone in a corner, I think that you will really, really learn something about that person or that party, and you will absolutely learn more about yourself. Not going to always change your opinion. Shit, relationships break up, man. Friendships break up.
Mm-hmm.
People get fired. People leave jobs. All that stuff. But the true successes are the ones that actually battle through it, and they are able to do it on both sides, in my opinion. So I think that's, man, it's so valuable. So you're able to, Nate, you hit it on the head, man. You got to be able to communicate. You got to want to communicate. You want to be by yourself? Cool. See you never. Hope you're doing moonshine in your fucking bathtub. You want to get drunk? Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you guys out there.